Live from Deathray Studios in the sunny West Valley of Phoenix, it's Late Night with the Davey. Appearing on tonight's show, YouTube content creator and Davey Deathray channel member, Happy Sanjo. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Davey Deathray. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Davey Deathray here on a lovely Wednesday night. Guys, we are back. Late Night with the Davey took a little bit of a sabbatical for the holidays. Both holidays fell on a Wednesday, so it just made sense, and it was nice to just sort of stretch out and do some other stuff. You know what I mean? I've been having a blast on the channel so far here in 2025. You guys have made the year so far just so much fun and so amazing. I feel like the engagement is, has just been ramping up from everyone in the chat. Our community is just absolutely amazing. Each one of you are just incredible folks. You guys push me, you fuel me. When the end of 2024 got really rocky for me, you guys were all there to make me feel great every step of the way. It was a good sort of healthy escape from everything else going on. So I've been having an awesome 2025 with you guys thus far here, and really pumped for tonight's show because, we have a lot of content creators on here, sometimes actors, sometimes writers, directors. But this is the very first time we are bringing a channel member on who is also a content creator. So I am pumped to have Koi on here. He goes by Happy Sanjo on YouTube. He recently started a channel, and I think he just sort of upped his gear a little bit. So it seems like, he's ready to really just hit the ground running here in 2025. So guys, please check out the link in the description for Koi's channel, Happy Sanjo. Please, one of the mods, feel free to share the link in the chat if you'd like to. That way folks can just easily click on that one and see what Happy Sanjo's channel is all about. But I want to say what's up to everybody hanging out here in the chat. Holy cow, we got Killjoy Jake stepping in, and he is hyped for some Scream talk. I got a shill for a lot of people that have channels here, and I definitely have to shill for Killjoy Jake's channel. I love his content. He's, I think I had mentioned him the other night on one of my streams. He's a young buck, so he kind of, helps me keep in line with some of the newer stuff that's out there. He helps me understand all of this Terrifier business because I'm just such an old man. I need help figuring it out. I'm just a simple caveman. I don't understand your Terrifiers. But Killjoy Jake has an amazing channel, really awesome audience engagement, great news. If you're into like horror news talk, Jake's channel is a great spot for that. He has a glowing personality and an awesome voice and just a fantastic channel. So not that he needs me to hype up his stuff because he's quite successful, but I'll go ahead and do it anyways because I like the dude. So leave me alone about it. We got Paula Fitzhenry hanging out in the chat. How are you doing, Paula? Hope everything is going well for you. We've got our amazing channel member and Patreon member, Trisha McMasters. How you doing, Trisha? Hope the 2025 year is kicking off well for you and your businesses. Yes, I believe you are owner or part owner of a couple businesses, so that's incredible. Hope everything is going well for you and your family right now here, Trisha. We got Billy Judd in the house. What's happening, Billy? How you doing, man? We got Enter the Cinevault. That's our amazing channel member, Dean Renner. That's his channel. Guys, go ahead and check out Enter the Cinevault. Dean has an awesome voice, and he's just getting his own channel up and running. I've really been digging his content so far, and I can already see strides being taken there. So very, very encouraging. What's happening, Lamontre? How you doing, man? Hope 2025 is treating you well. We got Antonis Andriotis, one of our great channel members. What's happening, Antonis? Dean Renner, who I feel like I just talked about. Another channel member of ours. How you doing, Dean? Great to see you. We got Blu-ray Addict. What's up, Blu-ray? How you doing? We got Ryan Olashow with the sup. Sup, Ryan? Hope you're doing well. Hope you are doing well. We got Big Rod. How you doing, Big Rod? Great to see you, man. Love that Jason mask so much. And is that you behind the mask? It looks like you've got a beautiful head of hair there, Big Rod, if that is in fact you. We've got Brooke Scarlett, one of our great channel members and Death Squad mods. How are you doing, Brooke? So good to see you. And Jamie Hart, the OG Death Squad mod and one of our channel members. How you doing, Jamie? So good to see you. Always a pleasure. We got to get you on the channel, Jamie. We got to do it. I know we're always talking about it. Let's talk about it offline and really make it happen. How about it? What do you say? You got that new microphone for Christmas. I know you're itching to use it, so let's put a little something together. We got Tyler Adams. How you doing, Tyler? Hope you are doing well. Tyler, did you see that I put up together a, guys, we're going to talk about movies from my childhood that I really love. That's going to be on Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, just movies from like the 80s and 90s that I could not stop renting and watching when I was a kid. And Tyler, the thumbnail, I was thinking about you when I put it together. If you check it out on the channel, you'll know why I was had you in mind, or how you came to mind when I put that little thumb together. What's happening, Joel from Dark Room Reviews? Joel's got a channel as well. Everyone go ahead and check out Joel's channel, see if it's for you, and think about throwing him a sub if so. Joel is also one of our channel members. Thank you so much, Joel. Really appreciate you, man. Appreciate the support. We got Leanna Bevy Rage. How you doing, Leanna? One of our great channel members and Death Squad mods. How are you doing, Leanna? So good to see you. Let's see who else we got popping in here. Boom, there's the man of the hour right there. A little happy Sanjo love, our very first channel member. So how cool is that? We're not going to bring on all the guests or all the channel members in order, but if you're a channel member and you have a channel of your own, we should bring you on in, shouldn't we? What's happening, Aaron? How are you doing, man? Great to see you. Thank you so much for jumping on in. Who else do we have here? Whoa, hold the phone. We got a $2 super chat from our Death Squad mod and channel member, Cody Snyder. How you doing, Cody? Hope you're, are you off right now, or are you still driving through all the crazy white wilderness out there with the snowstorms? Hopefully you're doing well, man. Always a pleasure to see you jumping into the chat. He's a busy man, that Cody Snyder. We got Matt Facci from Facci Cinema jumping in. Yeah, long time no see, Matt. Matt just got done wrapping up a list of his favorite, or a live stream talking about his just all the horror movies of 2024 and talking about the ones he loves, the ones he didn't love, and the ones that were just sort of meh. Love Matt's channel. Check out Facci Cinema if you have not already. What a great personality. Love my guy Facci. We got Prince hanging out in the chat. What's happening, man? No worries if you can't stay long. If you are a fan of the Scream franchise, though, Prince, you're going to want to come back and watch the rest of the stream here so you don't miss out on anything. Like Aerosmith says, don't miss a thing, something like that. Let's see here. Trisha McMasters dropping a $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much, Trisha. Ooh, this is a good one. Maybe I'm gonna star that one, Trisha. Maybe Coy and I can bring that up here. Well, you know what? How about in the interest of not forgetting, I will say my lowest ranked Scream movie is Scream 6. I mean, man, just the ending of that movie was a complete mess to me. And felt like the rug was pulled out from under the audience. You guys know how I feel about filmmakers being respectful of the audience, whether it's the runtime of the film or treating the audience like dummies or whatever. I felt like the ending, the reveal in Scream 6 sort of undercut everything that they had kind of built up. I felt like the first 2/3 of the movie were so much fun. I was liking that first 2/3 better than Scream 5. But ultimately, yeah, I don't know about that ending. I mean, you can of course you can criticize all the reveals in the Scream franchise for sure. Everyone's got their favorites and their not so favorites. I thought Scream 6 was the lowest of the low. Yes, Phil Hartman is sorely missed. My very favorite cast member on SNL, without question, for sure. Yes, Killjoy Jake says Terrifier rocks, but you rock harder, Davey. Oh, Jake, you know how to make a guy feel special, don't you? Really appreciate you, man. How about We Are Still Here, Jake? What a fun movie, man. If you guys have not seen Ted Gilligan's 2015 film We Are Still Here with Barbara Crampton, Larry Fessenden, and Lisa Marie's in there. Monty Markham, who was in like every TV show in the 70s, is in there as well. Super fun flick if you haven't seen it before. Really great slow burn haunted house film. Let's see here. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anyone. Boom! Cody Snyder with another 5. Looks like you guys want to see Coy come back to the channel and talk more Scream after tonight. So we only have 2 more super chats yet to meet that goal. So, man, we are getting there really, really, really close, or really soon. Really quick, something like that. I don't know. I got brain fog. That's what happens when you go live sometimes. You're like, day. Yes, Jamie, let's hop on a stream. Absolutely. Boom! Dominic Johnson with a 5 says, towards your bag of popcorn for the next flick you see in the theater. Davey, will it be the Wolfman? I couldn't finish your live stream earlier yet. Yes, the folks in the chat earlier today did fulfill the super chat goal, so I will be going to see Wolfman on opening night. Actually, as part of I won a raffle over on Killjoy Jake's channel. It was a $50 Fandango card, which is awesome. It's amazing. I was able to see Terrifier 3 on that card, Nosferatu, and I might even be able to get my ticket for Wolfman from that card. So another shout out for Killjoy Jake. I just can't stop talking about the guy. Yeah, if you have your popcorn and you sit next to me in the theater, I'm probably going to move seats. And it's not because I don't like you. It's because I don't want to hear throughout the whole movie. I know. I'm just I don't know. I guess I'm a get off my lawn kind of theater goer. Hey, no worries, Cody. I thought we would up the ante on this one to bring Coy back and make it $5 super chats to meet that goal there. Let's see here. Who else do we have? Yes, the Scream 6 opening is really good. I really liked a lot of the characters. I think Melissa Barrera just keeps getting better as a performer. I love seeing that. That's so encouraging. Not to say she was bad in Scream 5, but I think she got better in Scream 6, and I think she was even better than that in Abigail. And you guys know how I feel about Abigail. I'm kind of middle of the road on that one, but really enjoyed her performance for sure. Oh, look at that. We Are Still Here was filmed 3 hours from Jamie. That's awesome. We got Eli Cortez, one of our great Death Squad mods and channel members, and a pillar of the Death Squad community. How are you doing, Eli? Hope your night is treating you well, man. Really appreciate you jumping on in. If the last act of Scream 6 was improved to the point of your satisfaction, yeah, you better satisfy me. Well, I don't know. I guess I would put it would fight for Scream 3 in that 3rd spot in the franchise, right? Because so it goes original Scream, Scream 4, Scream 2, Scream 3, Scream 5, Scream 6 is how I would rank that. So yeah, Scream 6 would probably be like smack dab in the middle if it had, a better final act. Yeah, something like that. I know I'm a weirdo. I really love Scream 4. I'm one of those guys. Love Halloween Ends, love Scream 4. What the hell's going on? This guy's a fraud. What's happening, Adrian? How you doing, man? So great to see you. We got Gory Tiger. Love seeing you jump on in, Gory. D.A. Mac, one of our great channel members. How you doing, D.A.? Hope the night and week are treating you well so far. And boom, it looks like I'm all caught up saying hello to everyone. You guys are amazing. We have 30 people here on this stream. You guys just keep on raising the bar for, what I want to do on the channel, the goals that we have here for the channel, the goals we have as a community. And yes, of course, we want this community to keep on growing and, of course, getting bigger. And, one of the big goals of 2025 is to get to know you guys a little bit more and for you guys to, get to know me a little bit more. So you guys know me. I'm pretty much an open book. Cool, guys. Well, I've been chit-chatting for long enough, I think. Just wanted to make sure I could say hello to everybody. So I feel like this is a really good time to bring in our guest. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a guy that I met at age 45. Always having a good time. Always, I don't know, maybe, Coy, you'll have to correct me when you jump in here. You must have consumed some sort of cannabis edible or something almost every time we were hanging out. A super fun, loving guy. I'm very much like that myself, personally. So we vibed right away. And yeah, Coy has been such a great supporter, not only of the Davey Deathray channel, but I see him all over the place, spreading the love with the super chats, just being so gracious and so awesome within the community. I'm pumped that he's got his own channel. And when he reached out and said that he wanted to talk about Scream, didn't take too long to convince me, because I love this franchise and I'm a big fan of Koi. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, let's go ahead and bring in Happy Sanjo. What's happening, Koi?
What's going on, man?
Nothing much, man. I'm pumped for our chat. It seems like we've sort of been putting this together for a while. And I know we've talked like offline a little bit. Guys, we didn't try to spoil too much for each other, but it was good to kind of see where we're at. And I think this is going to be a really invigorating conversation, because while we both love this franchise, I think we have, some differing kind of views on, what we're picking up from it. So guys in the chat, please get involved with the conversation as we cruise along here. And if you're watching after the fact, let us know what you think about our thoughts here on the Scream franchise. Koi, I just want to get to this super chat here really quick before we get rolling here. We got Big Rod dropping $5, says, I got a fever. The only doctor that can prescribe is more Koi Bell. I got a fever and the only prescription is Koi Bell. Much respect to both of you and the community we have here. Thank you so much, Big Rod. Really appreciate you. And guys, that leaves just one more super chat of $5 or more for us to bring Koi back to expand on this conversation and keep things rolling. So yeah, Koi, tell me first off, let everyone know kind of what you're doing on your channel, what you're covering, what your plans are for 2025, and then I'll just sort of hand the baton off to you and let you guide this discussion here.
Yeah, I skipped the when people they're like, oh, I want to start streaming, and they buy like the $40 webcam, and then they're like, oh, and then it's bad for 3 or 4 months, and then they realize like, oh, I got to take this seriously, and then they drop all the money. I just went straight to the dropping the money down on it. So
nice.
The goal, I had to upgrade. I couldn't do video editing. I was being pigeonholed by my computer, so there was a lot of that going on. Now I'm at a point where I should be able to do video editing easily. Things should be picking up a little bit. Yeah, I'm excited to start doing the channel. It was basically just one of those things where I did a couple of videos and I was like, no, I need to get things together. So
yeah, I mean, sort of like, I think it's always good just to sort of dive in, just like get that first video out, first few videos, just so you can like get your feet wet. But do you know what kind of direction you want to take your channel, or is it going to be kind of like long form essays? Like, what do you have planned here for 2025?
So I want to do like so for just regular video content, I'm planning on doing like a book club format. So generally what I'm going to try to do is, this is in theory, but this is the way I hope. I'm going to pick a movie, and then in different parts, so usually I'm going to make them about an hour. Depending on what the movie is. It can be more or less, but it's going to be, you'll walk it up to a point, kind of like what we've watched, you know what I mean? Up until that point, discuss it, kind of analyze it, and then go to the next part. So on, usually do it in 1 to 2 to 3 if it's like a really long movie. That's kind of the idea, is to have, almost like an analysis discussion for each.
So you'll do like a panel kind of thing?
I mean, it just depends if I can have people on or not. And, it is structured in the sense of like, the flow. I've seen a channel that did it both ways, where they kind of cut it down into smaller format. And then they also had longer format videos. There are people that like the 2.5, 3 hour long videos. I know that people get afraid of doing videos like that, where that's like, I don't know. I think it takes a special type of person to be able to like sit in front, because I most of the podcasts I listen to are like 2+ hour long podcasts. When I'm listening to a conversation, and especially if it's like the next day, and I look down at it and it's only, especially if I'm enjoying it, it's only an hour and 20 minutes. There's a little bit of a sigh, it's like, oh,
you want more.
Yeah. And usually like a lot of like the big, that's why I think people watch Joe Rogan, because most of them are like 2+ hours, you know what I mean? So
yeah, there's certainly an audience for it. I mean, I I like all sorts. So I could take a 20-minute video if that's all they got to say. But I think especially, yeah, if you're going live or whatever and you're having that conversation, like I'm one of those long form kind of guys because I'll just put in my earbuds and do some chores. Or, you know, I live in a city that's so like spread out. So every time you drive to go visit a friend, it's like 45 minutes to an hour. So it's like even if I have to break up a long form video on my like ride to and from, like I enjoy that kind of stuff. Also, no secret to anybody here on the channel, I like to blah blah blah, so I can certainly relate with the other folks who like
everyone who does
talk
YouTube
quite a bit.
That's why we do it. You don't get a YouTube channel if you don't like to talk to people. That's
I'm like, Dave McRae only went for an hour 45. Rip off. No.
Yeah, that man's holding back. He could do the 3-4 hour streams if he want. You know, some people like I don't know what it is though, because there's a guy I watch and he started doing longer streams. He used to do about 2-3 hour streams. He does video game streams, and he said that when he does like the 4 or 5 hour ones, his voice starts going.
Oh sure.
And I'm like, some people like, I don't know what it is, man. Some people talk and talk and talk, and it's a muscle.
That's why I have multiple beverages here. I've got my water, I've got a cream soda. Sometimes I have coffee because yeah, you got to wet that whistle for sure.
And liking Scream 4 doesn't make you any kind of person. You said earlier,
oh,
like
thank
one
God.
of those guys. No, it's a good. You know, it's funny. We're having a conversation earlier through messages, and I feel like I misrepresent. I really just don't like the opening. It's like visceral.
A little too jokey for you.
I feel like it breaks the DNA. You know, there used to be I know you're not a big Nightmare on Elm Street guy, neither am I. But there used to be a consensus in like the early 2000s. I feel like it's less now, but a lot of fans were like really big on not liking 2, not because of the vibe, but just a lot of them were like, it breaks the rules of the series. I heard
Freddy's
that
Revenge, you mean?
Yeah, the second one.
Yeah.
And it for me, it's like I feel like that's what the beginning of 4 does. I feel like it misunderstands. Gotcha. You know, there's a couple of like parody movies that did similar scenes.
That's what I think that. Yeah, I think Scream 4's opening feels more like a scary movie type.
Yeah,
kind of
like they
theme,
lost,
you know. And I can't stand those scary movies. I just think they're. Ugh.
Oh, you don't like them?
No, I grew up watching Naked Gun and Hot Shots and Airplane. Like I grew up watching like really, really good satire parodies, and then Scary Movie to me just seemed like the lowest hanging fruit is where they got their jokes. It's just a bunch of like dick and fart jokes, which I think can be really good if they're like peppered in the right spots, kind of like a jump scare. Like you got to earn your oh, she's got a giant bush, or oh, I came all over the place kind of joke. It's like you got to earn those. Like don't just throw them all over the place. Scary Movie.
Yeah.
Maybe when we bring you back, we'll talk about the scary movies, because Cody has just dropped another 5, so we've reached our goal. So Cole, you're going to be coming back, and yeah, let's see if we can get Malik Akkad on a stream. That would be amazing to have Malik on here. He's got to have at least a few cocktails before.
And I feel like 4, like we can kind of use that to lead into the conversation. Like I feel like 4, in a lot of senses, like I said, the misunderstanding comes from, I feel like the first movie is just misunderstood by the rest of the series. Mm-hmm. I think it gets worse the further you get along. You know, it's one of those things where, like, you know, it has a lot of similarities because of, I think, Wes Craven with the Nightmare on Elm Street series. And even though he kind of parted ways with that, like, I think it kind of shows you that if you're not careful, even if you keep the same director, you know, and I think what did 3, Williamson didn't, he like helped.
I don't think he
did an outline.
3. Yeah, I don't think he wrote it. And then they had to change a lot of 3 because of Columbine. So I know it wasn't the movie that they had initially envisioned, because they did envision like this cult of Ghostface kind of thing.
Everything sounds good, right? Just want to make sure.
Everything sounds great, man. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, and because I had the gain, I changed the gain on the mic. So if
no,
there's
you're
any
all
issues,
good, man.
This is all new equipment. I just want to tell the chat if there's any issues.
Yeah, it sounds great.
But yeah, so for me, that first film, we were talking about it earlier, and I think what happens with movies, there was a discussion. I tried to remember it off the top of my head what the director, if it comes to me while we're talking. But I was watching a discussion with a director a couple weeks ago, and I thought about, I banked it for this. And he was talking about his film. It's a pretty like, there's a lot of meat on the film. I forget what it is off the top of my head, but there's a lot of meat on it. And he basically said that when he was making the movie, you know, you have an intention when you start something. And he said that sometimes in a positive way, the intention can kind of get away from you. And there's going to be things in your movie that either you didn't intend to be there, but they're there, you know? And he said that basically, like, whether you want to admit it or not, someone can show it to you and it's there. It's not a conscious thought, but you've woven it in through your actions and decisions. And I feel like when people have discussions about Scream, a lot of it, you know, especially if you hear people who don't like the series talk about it, you'll hear like jokey. It can't be taken seriously, you know, he stumbles all over the place. And I think they're missing the point. You know, I spoke with you earlier, and I think that the first movie was kind of like, you know, horror was in such a bad place. The whole genre was in such a bad place. I think people underestimate how bad it had gotten.
Especially slashers, because, you know, there's some interesting, like, different kind of 90s stuff, but yeah, slashers were in a really horror kind of went more supernatural in like the early 90s, you know,
some
like
weird like creature feature leprechaun sort of, you know what I mean? They were like, they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to do. And you know, I looked up like one time for shits and giggles, I looked up best horror movies of the year I was born, which is 94, and it's just all junk films. You know what I mean? And I think what happens, you know, there's a couple good ones, but you know, there's a couple, but
New Nightmare, right?
So the funny thing is and I wanted to talk about that. Leading up to Scream, I think New Nightmare made like the least amount of money out of all of the Elm Street movies. And for Wes, it's like one of these things where, and I watched two of the documentaries for this and then a couple of like behind the scenes things, but he was basically saying, you know, or it was one of his assistants, I think, said like, or someone he worked with, I forget who it was, but they were basically like, you know, he not needed to, but he wanted to prove himself because, you know, if you think about it, I think he was trying to get New Nightmare made for a while. You know what I mean? And I tell people this all the time, you know, a creator, they'll make something. And I think this happened not completely with Halloween, but people think that like, oh, I liked the first one. This person did a really good job. And then they hand it off to other people and then they go do what they want with it. And they say, I really want that person to come back. And, you know, it's kind of like the George Lucas thing. It's like, do you know what I mean? And then I feel like there's always an audience, but sometimes they want to take it places that you don't really want to go. You know, a lot of people don't like the brother-sister story arc for Halloween. And that's from the creator, you know, and then a lot of people with Scream, you know, intrinsically, like, I think Wes was at a point in his career where he's like, I need to not reprove myself, but I want my legacy to be more than just Nightmare on Elm Street and a couple of good films here and there. You know what I mean? I really think that there was something that he wanted to say. Kevin Williamson on the other side, you know, if you look at his whole approach to it, you know, he said he was broke, said he had no money, you know, and he's desperately trying to make it in the world and trying to do something different. And you were talking about, you know, it's funny. I looked into the whole Gainesville thing.
Yeah, the Gainesville Ripper from 1990.
I don't really see the connection other than just brutality.
Well, he credits that story just for giving him a couple ideas and for sort of giving him nightmares that made him want to. Yeah, I mean, the Gainesville Ripper was like a grown man that like lived in the woods and he killed 5 college students. He didn't do any of the phone call stuff, anything like that, but he did like pose. Apparently he posed the bodies in certain ways that when the police went into the crime scene, it was, you know, the police said it was like the most disturbing stuff they had ever seen. So there's a little bit of, they worked a little touch of that into,
maybe with
you know, the very beginning. Yeah, exactly. And I think it just sort of sparked the idea, right? So it's not as seamless as like Wes getting the idea of A Nightmare on Elm Street from the story he read about the man that felt like there was something that wanted to kill him in his dreams and then he died in his sleep. It's not as like smooth as that, but certainly the Gainesville Ripper he credits it for inspiring at least, you know, his original thoughts from there for sure.
Yeah. And 4 as a juxtaposition to 1, I think is a good point to like kind of talk
Mm.
about, because I feel like, you know, people thought one was very, at the time, was a very like meta film, and it was, but at the same time, it's like now if you go back and look at it, it's, I feel like it's underserved compared to what people think it was originally. I think
Yeah.
the whole self-aware aspect of it. I mean, like, you know, it's one of those things where like I remember when people first started mentioning like social media on TV shows and stuff, and it felt
Yeah.
weird at first. And you're like, oh, what's happening here? You know, like we're trying to be relevant, and then all of a sudden you realize it's just in everything, like cell phone,
Mhm.
social media, and all this stuff's in everything. And I feel like with Scream, it was one of these things where, sorry, I was reading the thing as it came up.
No,
I
you're
feel like
cool.
Scream, it's one of these things where, you know, you had to walk before you could run, and a lot of the
Mhm.
references, a lot of the self-references are, and I was telling you this, at the quality of the series. They're at, or not the series, like the genre in and of itself. I think the Drew Barrymore kill is like a kill of expectation. You know, that film starts, and I noticed this when I watched it. It literally starts with her answering the phone.
Yeah, you hear the phone ring before you even see anything. Like you hear the phone ring as the logo comes up.
She's, other than the little tidbits you get into her life that she says on the phone, she's not a character, right? She's
Yeah, not
not,
really.
she's essentially not a character. And in a movie like that where things are intentional, you ask yourself, well, then what are we doing here? Like, what's the purpose of showing me this, right? And
Mhm.
the purpose is there. Drew, in my view, is expectation. She's your expectation of what the movie's
Mhm.
going to give you, of what horror up to that point, like the genre is. And it's like, oh, we're doing something different now. You know what I mean? And this is us killing off. We're going to hang it from a tree, gut it open, and then lay it out in front of you, and that's where we're going with it. You know what I mean? Like that's how I view it. I view it like we're done with everything in the past. This is new. We're gonna do something
Gotcha.
different, and look
So
how stupid it's gotten. You know what I
she
mean?
she represents where slasher movies have gone, and
And
they're
their
basically ripping
disdain,
it open.
and
Yeah.
and they're saying like, look at, like, we're now going to display it out for you, right?
Yeah.
This next movie is the start of us dissecting this thing that you love, right? And I
Mhm.
think that gets into the conversation that we're gonna have later about, you know, expectation with the whole like nudity in the film, and expectation with violence, and
Yeah,
the movie plays with expectation the whole time. And
for sure.
I think if you jump into the second film, I'll jump into that a little bit. You know, the second film, the opening is solidifying what the new formula is. It's saying like, this is the
Mhm.
new standard. We now did
Mhm.
this in the last one, and then this is how we're going to handle things going forward. And I feel like both of those openings kind of complement each other, but in just a vacuum, if you just look at the first one,
Yeah.
she's the audience. She's you coming in and saying like, what is this movie going to give me? And they're saying, you know what, we're going to give you exactly what you didn't expect. You
Yeah, and I
know,
mean, even with, people talk about this all the time, just, it was sort of a comeback for Drew. She had a pretty big void in her career there. She's on the poster. She was used in a lot of marketing. So there's even this idea of like, you're not really expecting that there's going to be that kill in the opening scene, because yeah, Halloween 78 has a opening scene kill, but it really wasn't like a staple of a subgenre until Scream kind of brought it to where then we started expecting that, not just from Scream, but from other movies. We were like, oh, we need like a good old opening kill just to hook people in and bring people in. So you're sort of watching that movie thinking, oh, she might be our main character. Maybe she'll get out of this. And I know that she's not really a character like you said, but I do think that, there's a reason why Billy and Stu are there, and they bring that back up later when they're having the friend chat at the fountain. You sort of figure out that even though we don't really get to know her as a character, we do realize that she does have some sort of tangential connection to this group.
to
And
terrify the other people.
yeah, well, and
Yeah,
just to
and the
and
audience.
she's connected to Stu. So
And
it's
the audience, yeah.
so she isn't really like a fully realized character. Of course, neither is Steve. Poor Steve, who, whatever they did to his knees, I don't know if they shot his knees or cut his tendons or whatever, but poor guy.
And I mean that in a thematic sense. You know, obviously she has a character name. She has,
Yeah,
you know, some relevance to the main character.
totally.
But I mean in the
I
sense
get
of
what you're saying.
she has you don't spend any time with her. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I'm making popcorn and I have a boyfriend. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah,
just like
she's just used to make that point and to give us that shock and just to sort of like jolt us and be like, hey, this is the kind of movie you're about to see, you know?
Apparently all of the impacts of, and I didn't know this, but apparently all of the impact of, oh, it's going to be someone that's like, you know, like you said, Drew Barrymore, who actually had kind of like a little bit of star power. They were going to just pick someone else for that role. Not necessarily someone with star power. And then I apparently called them and said, hey, I have an idea.
Yeah, she wanted
and decided to do that. So that's what I was trying to say at the beginning is like I don't think the meta nature is as intentional until you started. It became its own thing. That's what I'm trying to say. It started to breathe, and the director Wes, who's very talented, I think he caught the pulse. He said, "There's something here. It's alive." Yeah. You know what I mean? It's got a rhythm and a heartbeat to it, and I'm just going to let it be its own thing. You know, yes. and he talked about for when he finally did the cameo, in the hall. I think it was in 3.
Well, he does a cameo as himself in 3, but
as Freddy though.
He plays Fred the janitor in the first movie. Yeah.
Yeah, he said he wanted to keep it like pulled back. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of that was like, you know, the movie, even the first one's full of stuff. If you actually look, we were talking about that just like as far as control material and things like that, but it goes beyond just names and things like that. You know, I wait, you know, right here, just his mask. You were talking about Halloween. I think it's intentional that it's a white goofy face. I really do. That it's like
there's an expression on there. It's not expressionless.
And it's silly. If you actually think about it, this doesn't scare me at all. It's never scared me. And people don't make references like, you know, when people talk about the Myers mask, they're like, it's frightening, especially if it's well lit. And I don't know very many people who are like, they like the Scream mask because it's aesthetically nice, right? It's a visually pleasing mask, but it's not nightmare fuel. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, it's a cool mask.
Yeah, and I guess it could be, I think it could be construed as nightmare fuel. If the movie ends up scaring you, then it totally works. But by itself, it's not as. But then
wouldn't it just be any mask, right? Like anyone who's intimidating or terrifying.
Yeah.
At that point, it would be like, you know.
For sure. Anyone that's running around trying to kill you in your house is going to be scary, regardless
of have pantyhose
what they're wearing.
And you're like.
Yeah, well, that's what they do in real life. So
exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's terrifying. So I actually like, you know, did you like where they kind of I don't know how much they really used it, but when they weathered it for the newest one?
Yeah, like the weathered mask I thought I sort of expected it. I'm like, well, we're doing this whole, you know, Halloween 2018 is now inspired, like, you know, all of these like legacy sequels, and I felt like bringing a weathered mask in was sort of, again, Scream has always pulled from Halloween. Sometimes they straight up say it, like in Scream 5, and of course in the very first film it is peppered throughout. I mean, straight up from Casey's dad saying, go down to the Mackenzie's house, you know, call the police. Like that is almost word for word the line that Jamie says to Tommy and Lindsay. And so it's like cleverly worked in there forever, seemingly, you know, the connection to Halloween.
Yeah, it's funny, the movie, and we were talking in the chat earlier, you know, I brought up this scene where they're all having conversations with each other. I feel like the movie, it's really well done, but I feel like it's more not mean-spirited, but it has a lot of like nastiness below the surface. Not even from the director or anything, but the script itself. You know, if you actually break down what happens in the movie, I mean, if I'm wrong or misinterpreting anything, let me know. But if you actually, you know, so he kills this poor girl's mom, right? And then, you know, a year goes by and he lets someone get framed for it. And then he's having a relationship with her daughter.
Yeah.
right? Then
Yeah.
he starts murdering her friends.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, murders her principal, sleeps with her.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's basically he's won in every account essentially, and then
Yes.
at the end she kills him, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
okay, that's the redemption, for the character, and then she's haunted for the rest of her life by the same type of thing over and over and over and over again. It's actually very depressing and sad if you really
It
think
is.
about it. Yeah, it's actually
Yeah.
very sad, and it's peppered with jokes because if you didn't laugh, you'd cry. I feel like it's
Yeah, it's got, well, it just had, I think, relatable characters for, the kids that go and see slasher movies. I think a lot of it's relatable, at least for me, at like the time that it came out in my life. I wasn't as over the top as Randy, but I was the kid that was like convincing my friends to rent horror movies, and then a whole group of us would sit at one of our houses and watch the original Halloween or Curse of Michael Myers, because that was out like right around that same time. And so I could definitely relate with like sort of a celebration. To me, it felt like the characters are celebrating horror. And I mean, as far as like if you're interpreting something wrong, I don't even know if that's really, I don't think there is a right and a wrong. I think it's really fascinating that you take something away from it that I don't even really see until you bring it up. The idea when we were talking earlier, the idea that it's not really homage so much as it is mockery. Now, I think that there is a point that they are mocking where it went.
mockery. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's done in a way where, sorry to cut you off, but it's done in a
No, go for it.
way it's done in a way where, and I don't want it to be misinterpreted, but it's mockery in a sense of like, imagine being displeased with the state of something, but you love that thing.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
kind of how, and I think
Mhm.
that in the movie it's pointing towards Halloween because it likes it. Right?
Yes.
It's pointing towards, little bits of this and little bits of that because it enjoys those things. But I think
Mhm.
the overall idea that the movie doesn't have this kind of like middle finger up towards like the whole thing at that point in the whole industry.
Yeah.
I just don't see how that's, because to me it's like, I mean, they're even Lillard's delivery of the, I mean, like the "I'll be right back," like
Yeah.
that's condescending as hell, and it's intentionally done. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah, and I think his character is doing it because he's like, little did everyone know that I was one of the ones causing this the whole time. So he has no fear when he says, "I'll be right back," because he's one of the killers. So it's one of those things where they're finally able to like, it's got to be liberating for Billy and Stu at that point. That's when they start making all of their mistakes. As soon as they reveal who they are, that's when the whole thing starts tumbling down, because it seems like they've got everything planned out so damn well in
I
that
don't
movie.
understand the principle. I was
Why they
watching that
kill
again, and
him?
I don't understand that. I don't even
I
think that
guess.
fits. And when I watched a thing about it, I guess they were saying that, or I read something that was saying that that was a studio push, that they thought someone hadn't died
Sure, that makes sense, because
soon enough.
the
Yeah.
Weinstein brothers were always sort of, you know, elbowing their way in, and I think, like as far as narratively goes, it's used in the story to get everyone except for our main crew out of the house. I mean, that's how they justify it within the film. Whether or not they would even find out about that and actually leave or
Yes.
whatever, who the hell knows? But it's
They're
every
relying on
plot.
it to be found.
Yeah, every script is technically contrived, so it is a bigger contrivance than most. That's for sure.
I don't that it's
Yeah,
funny, like it's not even the motive part. It's I don't know, like it's just
there's
because
no
they try to
reason for them to want to kill him. There's no
yeah.
like, oh, Principal Hembry like suspended me, and even that would have been like really weak.
And I have a question, like theoretically, like if they killed Sydney at the first attack at the beginning of the movie, would the movie have just like would they have still kept killing people? Like I'm convinced they would have just kept killing people. I don't think it's one of those things where they would have been like, oh, we're done here. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
that's a good question. Like you figure that they wanted her to kind of get away that first time, because I think the whole point of the game, I mean, it's funny, everyone remembers that Jigsaw says, "Do you want to play a game?" or whatever, but Ghostface says, "I want to play a game," or something like that at the beginning of this film. He was the OG of the "I want to play a game." And it seems like the whole game is leading up to letting Sydney see all the destruction that she's basically like responsible for in Billy's eyes. It seems like they want to leave her dangling there until the last moment, and so she sees her friends die, and then she is the one that ultimately would be the last kill.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they must have intentionally let her survive, right? I don't know. I figure that.
Yeah,
they wanted Billy to get caught with the cell phone because they knew that they had stolen the father Neil's cell phone and all that, so they wanted to like kind of clear him, not only so he could continue to get closer to her.
That was intentional, the phone drop?
I do, yeah, because I think the whole thing is Billy wanted to still be able to get even closer to her and gain that level of trust, and the best way to gain the trust is to get caught.
I used to be under that interpretation that it was intentional but then I rewatched. Did they mention it? I don't think they mention if it was intentional or not, do they?
Not within the film, they don't mention it, but you can tell that it's Stu that's chasing her in the ghost face mask. That's not Billy.
Look at his face, dude. When he drops that phone, it doesn't look. I mean, like, because they're really specific on the faces in the movie, and we talked about that off. Where
we'll get into that. Yeah,
there's even a scene where he's arrives at school and off camera, it kind of forgets about it, but Stu, Matt DeLo's character, is supposed to be behind her down the hall, and he basically says like, "Oh, how could I have called you? I was in jail," kind of sort of thing. And his eyes dart right past her to him down the hallway. I mean, he looks right past her when he says, "How could I have called you?" Right?
Yeah.
And he looks dead past her, completely breaks eye contact with her that he just had, and looks straight down the hallway where he was just seconds ago. And
I think some of that stuff is, I do think that they're playing with the audience too. So I think the phone drop is on purpose because they want to clear his name, but I also think for the audience, they want us to think, oh, it can't be him. Or maybe it is, and then he gets cleared and everything. But I
want to know what their intention for the character, because I don't do you really think he like dropped the phone? That blows me away because I rewatched it and I saw it. And
hole in the pocket. I don't know.
I was like, that's I mean, I don't know.
Either way, I think that he expected to be brought in and questioned so he could be cleared
at some point.
And then, I mean, talk about like significant looks and everything when he's in there with his dad, and his dad finds out. He was like, you went out last night? That there's like this look of like, I really don't know if I can trust you, because you imagine they must have had a conversation where the dad really did think he was at home all night. And so his dad, who's a lawyer, is thinking, why would my son not be like, now there was this murder and he wasn't there. So there's this look of like, I don't know if I can trust you. So he might even know that something isn't right with Billy since the mom left. And we don't even know that as an audience. At that point, we have no idea where the mom is.
I also wanted to clear something else with you. I was a little confused about. I was rewatching it, and when so they were both there when they killed Drew, right?
Yes, they've got to both be there because they're both at, when he asked her which door I'm at, one of them's at either door.
Now, when he says yes, and I think one of them put the football player in the chair while the other one's doing the call, right? So, but my question is on that. So was he with his girl? Because he goes, I couldn't have done it. When they're joking, he goes, I couldn't have done it. I was with my girlfriend or whatever last night.
Yeah. Well, and then Randy is like, is that before you sliced and diced?
Right. He
calls
it immediately.
So the timetable.
He calls it immediately.
Yeah.
He actually nails it right off the rip and tells you exactly who did it, which is wild to me.
I think Tatum just figures even if Stu was just with her for part of the night, that's her boyfriend. They're like 16, 17 years old. So, she's just going to jump to defend him because that's the way people are. So even if you weren't really with him for like all 6 hours of the whole evening or whatever, she's going to go ahead and stand up for him.
And Lillard makes a comment that's really a big red flag where I might mess the quote up a little bit, but he basically says he cut him from top to bottom like a real man.
From groin to sternum.
Like only a man
could do that.
Yeah. Only a man could do that. And I feel like that's very telling of like look how big I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, look how strong you know what I mean?
Well,
Like
and it's even like that whole fountain conversation is very interesting because Billy looks nervous the whole time. He looks like he doesn't like that they're talking about it. And when Stu is like, you think you or are you saying that I or whatever, you think I killed them? And Billy's like, no one's saying that you did. Because he's basically like, motherfucker, you know I'm the one that did it. So quit trying to take the credit, asshole. They have this like antagonist sort of, like,
yes,
it's
you
weird.
picked up on yes.
They've got a weird love thing going on, some sort of weird bromance that's like, yes, they're partners, but also like Billy is like, I'm the fucking ringleader here, dude. So don't screw up like our thing.
There's, in a lot of like real life scenarios, there's always, if it's a 2-killer group, there's always the person where they'll have the conversation like, would this person have done it if they didn't meet that other person? Like, you can always tell the person who instigated it, right? And then it's like, well, they're a follower. Would they have followed someone to do this if they wouldn't have met this person? That's kind of the
it happened with the Columbine kids, and then there were kids in real life that tried to replicate the first Scream movie, and it was clearly the case there where one of them was just going along with it because he thought his buddy was so cool and he thought they were going to get away with it and all that kind of stuff. So there's always got to be that dynamic whenever you have two people. And that whole conversation, it's really, I mean, once you know the reveal and everything, it's interesting to watch that because they are sort of like teetering on giving it away, and Billy sort of puts the kibosh on it there.
They basically, it's funny, the movie screams it at you, like literally pun intended. Like, I mean, it's like they did, like I said, so other than the parents, I think he's the first person you see other than Sydney. So the film shows you Drew, shows you the killers, but they have masks on. Right, so or not killer, it's killer at that point, but it shows you the killer, and then shows you the parents as they arrive, and then when it cuts to Sydney, she's in her room, opens the window, and it's Billy. Right. So the first they show you the main character, and they say this is your main character now because the other girl died. You know what I mean? So she's dead. We're done with her. This is your main character, and then the moment she interacts with someone, it's the killer. And it's just like, to me, it's like, and then in the group, I don't know if it's the first line, but he's like taking up the first shot of the group interaction. Lillard is. It's like, here's the first killer, and then once the first opportunity we have to show you her friends, the very first frame is going to be the other killer.
It's interesting because when the film came out, we hadn't really seen a whodunit in a really long time in the slasher subgenre. And we had never seen one that was like a tried and true 2-person operation. So even though they're waving red flags and they're giving little, hints as to who it is, it's just it wasn't even on the radar of the audience at that time. So Scream sort of set the standard. Then moving forward, you go to watch Scream 2 and the whole time you're like, who's the killer, and they have all the significant looks, and everyone's wearing the same shoes. I
love that you said that because in the opening, or not opening, but in the scene, it's in the first one with the movie store with Randy. When he's having his big moment.
He lays it. I love the look
about the movie. I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, go. No.
Yeah,
I interrupted you. Go.
He talks about the movie as if these types of movies happen all the time, which I thought was odd because it's like he's like it could be anybody. He's like these are the rules, and I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, how many whodunits really were there in the 80s? You know what I mean? Where it's like a legitimate whodunit, not some Friday the 13th where it's we don't know and you could have never guessed it, but like a legitimate like murder mystery mixed in with it was almost like it's like that's what I'm saying, it's almost like we're giving you the new rule set.
But
if you think about it,
I think in the 80s there were a lot of one-off movies that probably had a surprise killer reveal. I mean, the ones that stick out to me, like The Prowler and My Bloody Valentine from 81, those are both whodunits. And then he mentions Prom Night. He's like, it's Prom Night. If they just watch that movie, they know what's going on. And then I love when Stu is like, well, what about her dad? No one's found her. And he's like, that's because he's off somewhere and he's gonna pop up in the third reel. And the look that Stu gives him is like, shit, dude, fucking good job. Like, you nailed that. Like, we've got him tied up somewhere, you know. Really, really good stuff there with teasing that. But again, we were none the wiser. We just, you know, when we're watching that movie, when Scream came out, no one was sitting there like, which one's the killer? No one's trying to pinpoint. Everyone's just along for the ride. And then, yeah, when you go back to it, I think Dean, what Dean had just said, they rat on themselves right in the beginning. On a second watch, it's so obvious. And it's, I think that's a benefit to the film, that you can go back and watch it and it's no more little did you know, it's I know everything. So you can go back and you can analyze and pick out those moments.
How old were you when the first one came
out? It came out when I was 14. I missed it in the theater. Okay. There was a lot of buzz about it, but really it didn't start buzzing until it was already in the theater at that time. I wasn't old enough to go see it, although I probably could have like found a way in. I lived in a hometown where like sometimes they just let you in, or like a friend's parent would get you in. But it was also pre-social media, so I lived in such a small town. It was probably in the theater for like 2 weeks in my small town because we only had like 6 screens at the time, maybe just 4, I think, at that time. And so I saw it when it came out on VHS. I think that summer, so summer of '97 it would have been, because I think it came out in December of '96. But I saw all the others in the theater. Well, I mean, not 5 or 6. But I had to go opening night for the others because
I didn't go to 5 and 6 in theaters.
I don't think so. I think no, I didn't. I just watched them because they were like they went for free like a month later or something like that on on streaming.
I would have thought you did just for the experience of it. You know, I didn't get to see 4. Did you see 4? And
you know, that's a good question. I might not have seen 4 in the theater.
I know, I can tell you that right now.
It blew my mind when I saw it though, because I was like, man, I didn't expect it to be as good as it was.
It's solid. Yeah.
But I think that would be a fun. I think it would be fun for our second part, for part 2, since we reached that super chat goal. It would be fun to sort of save some of that Scream 4 talk, because in a way it's kind of a reboot, and it's cool because Wes did it. So he got to sort of restart everything again. And I think that the original Scream, I don't know how you feel about this, but I do sort of think that it's him kind of looking at what he did with A Nightmare on Elm Street and being like, you know what, I'm going to kind of reinvent that. You know, Sydney's pajamas in that opening scene when Billy comes up through the window are so similar to the pajamas that Heather Langenkamp wears. They're very like 1960s, like Good Girl Next Door, very unassuming, probably something that no one would have worn back then, but Wes wants his final girl to be the sweetest, most pure of souls, just the way he did with Nancy. So I thought that was kind of cool. And another sort of dead giveaway and another Halloween reference that, you had brought up as well when we were chatting is bringing in the cover of Don't Fear the Reaper. So you get to sort of reference Halloween, and then it's the very first time that we see Billy and they're playing Don't Fear the Reaper and the killer's right there,
Yeah, so good.
It's good shit.
It's really good, yeah. It's one of those things where, I feel like 4 was it kind of not peaked, but they found the rhythm and then they let it go and they passed it to someone else. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not a big fan of Radio Silence. And
me neither.
Their work on everything. I know you liked Abigail, but I
thought it was okay. C+, B-.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought it was one of your.
It was an honorable mention. Because there were certain things about it that I did like. It reminded me of House on a Haunted Hill '99, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah,
but I do think Radio Silence,
like that movie too, dude. We should talk about that.
Radio Silence, because it's that group. It's that whole like ragtag group of people that don't know each other and they're giving each other shit. It's so similar, like the setup. I mean, I guess a lot of like old timey horror movies kind of had that setup too. But yeah, I think Radio Silence for me is sort of, it's like they're almost there. I don't really think I feel like they don't really respect me as an audience member, and that's fine because they're very successful. More power to them. A rising tide raises all ships and all that kind of good stuff. But for whatever reason, there's a bit of a disconnect when it comes to Radio Silence for me.
And I just wanted to be clear, like the first Scream is one of my favorite horror.
Hmm.
So it's not a when I say that you know the negative or not negative, but when I talk about its attitude towards like the industry, it's not a negative on it. I just feel, you know, it's one of those things where when you're trying to prove yourself, and I think a lot of like both writer and director were on this, which is very unique. You know, will people
Hmm.
kind of make a statement? I feel like the movie did, and I feel like people have kind of misunderstood it because, like I said, I feel like the end is not where it began. You know, and I feel like for me, that's the interesting part of it is like, you know, when you hear things like, "Oh, Drew called me," and you know, that's like a pivotal thing of that movie. It's like, you know, a lot of
Hmm.
people talk about even people who don't like Scream. Oh, it has one of the best openings of all time.
Yeah.
You know, you'll hear them say that. You'll hear them say, "Oh, the best part is the first 15 minutes," and then the movie
Yeah,
just
even Matthew
whatever.
Lillard said that. He's like, we kind of fizzles after that first scene.
Kind of peaks,
Which I
doesn't it?
like. I don't think, I mean, really, I get a lot of enjoyment out of the first movie. I think the opening is a great hook. You know, it's like putting on a record, and you want the first song to be an absolute banger when you put on an album. You want people to want to listen to the rest of the record, even if the rest of the record isn't as good as that first track. That's the first one they're going to hear. Every time they put that record on, boom, it's right in their face. And I think it sort of you know, raises the grade average of the film for
And I think
sure.
it's one of the first times. There's going to be other things you can point to, but I think it's like one of the first time. You know, I was watching the film, and I was watching it on Blu-ray. It's not even like I was watching a 4K of it or anything, and I was like, this movie looks really good. You know, if you
Hmm.
actually watch the production and compare it to just, I think a year or two before, where it's you know, People Under the Stairs, which is a Wes Craven movie, or is it
Hmm.
People Under the Stairs, yeah. And then
Yeah.
yeah, and then he also, you know, even like the visual production value of New Nightmare. I feel like it's not, obviously I don't know what the budget difference would have been on those two films, but I feel
Hmm.
like it was almost like a studio basically saying like, we're going to treat you like an actual movie. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
think it comes off later now. You know, Dave McRae talks about like that films that followed this, almost like that were trying to copy, that had that like Dawson's Creek like clean TV kind of look.
Slick.
Yeah, slick look
Yeah.
that people don't really. And I feel like it's like it was the first movie to kind of break that gap. It didn't go too far, and I think that's why people like it. But
Yeah.
it feels really, really like polished. Like the movie's polished. It
Yeah.
really
It does.
feels.
It doesn't look low budget. I would
No.
imagine Wes probably brought a lot of his like same crew that he had worked with, so they have that rapport. So it's probably easier to get like a better looking film. You've got some great looking performers in the movie, and I think Miramax and Dimension at that point were kind of riding a little bit of a high wave, so they could probably dip a little bit more money into that as a horror film, especially because you're bringing on somebody like Wes. You probably want to make sure, you know, when he goes and makes a movie, he's probably like, look, I need at least this much money to make this movie. But yeah, I do agree that I think, you know, a lot of the imitators sort of missed the mark. They did go too far. And then it gets foggy. People start thinking, oh, Scream is like that too. And I don't think Scream's slickness is to a detriment to the film. Whereas I would say the slickness of I Know What You Did Last Summer
Yeah.
does not do the movie any favors, you know? And I think a lot of the imitators, you know, that were going for that vibe. Halloween H2O, I think like really misses the mark as well. There's like no grit in that movie. It's way too clean.
Yeah.
And I do think that the original Scream, I mean, I even think the second and third and the fourth, like I feel a lot of good grit there on, you know, all of those.
You know what he did, right? They were saying in the and a lot of 90s films did this, where they were saying in the documentary that West did the classic, like, let's make it really violent, and then when we cut it back, it's more of our intention. Like, we don't
Yeah.
intend for it to be this violent, and we're gonna kind of reel it. I guess the
Hmm.
zoom in on Drew is supposed to be slower. It was supposed to be like a real slow pull up on her, and he said that it was a little too gruesome, so they just sped it up because they didn't want to linger on it for too long because it looked really bad. And they were like, they're like, it was better just to kind of get past it a little bit, you know?
Yeah, it's a little bit of that theater of the mind when you don't, you know, when you don't give away too much. And you should always take things further because you figure they're going to ask you to cut it anyways, right?
To not try to like toot my own horn, but there is one conversation that was in the documentary I want to bring up where, and I always say this, the first one's not as funny as people. It has funny lines, and it has, I think that's just from young characters. You just have young characters who are just young kids being kids.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that. It's not really a comedy, but it was funny that they were talking about Bob making a call to the MPAA, and they were saying that he was having a conversation with them because they were getting an NC-17. And they said he hangs up the phone, and he goes, "I got you an R." And they go, "Well, how did you do that?" And he goes, "I convinced them it was a comedy." Right? So it's this concept that they knew it wasn't a comedy. Like they knew that this movie's not supposed to be like really, really funny. It's not. That wasn't the intention. Now, does it have funny moments? Yes, of course. But that's what we're talking about, or what I was talking about at the beginning, where it grows into something you didn't intend for it to be.
Yeah, and I do think the horror, I mean, you know, you cut the tension of the horror with comedy. It's something that a lot of, maybe not in all of horror, we don't see that as much. Like you watch a haunted house movie, maybe not as many of them are going to have humor other than House on Haunted Hill 1999. But
dude, I'm so glad
but I do think especially in slashers that humor is something that's like it's a trope. You know, the humor in the original Halloween is there. The original Friday the 13th, you got what is it, Ned in the first Friday the 13th, like being totally silly, and that's the way you ease the tension, and then the tension can build back up because you sort of want that like the build up and release and the build up and the release, you know, over and over again. Multiple orgasms is kind of the approach of a slasher subgenre.
And I feel like that's what the first movie does. That's kind of what I was getting at earlier, was like, I feel like it lures you in with the production value, shows you a clean, nice image. It shows you all these like really, like you said, like a young, up inspiring, good actors. And it's like, oh, here you go. Here's this like really like safe feeling movie. And then if you just peel just a little bit off the top, you're like, this is really kind of messed up. You know what I mean? Like it's actually, and it's almost like they couldn't, in the 80s, they would have just presented it that way. In the 80s, they would have, you know, you had the Nightmare on Elm Street funny Freddy stuff, and then you had Halloween that was kind of like a little bit more, I don't want to call it art house, but it was a little bit more with, it pulled back and said, we don't want to go as far as everyone else. Or
tonally darker than,
it was setting
the other
standard,
franchises.
It was setting the standard for itself. But I feel like overall, when you look at the entire encapsulation, you know, it was really one of these things where Scream, it really did have to find its own footing. It basically said, like, we don't have anything to lean on. There's nothing here that's like this. You know, there's nothing here that's filling this space. You know, Williamson said in that interview that I saw, he's basically like, I was trying to find the different thing. And I find it interesting that doesn't happen. Like most of the time when you're looking for the thing, you don't find it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I find it interesting that he had the goal, the intention. You always, and the actors said it though. The actors go, we had no idea that it was going to be what it was. You know, it's one of these things where, it'll have a good weekend and then die off or whatever.
Yeah.
You know? Just be a thing that we did, you know? And I feel like, again, it's something taking on the life of its own. You know, in the third one, I actually think I wanted to touch on this before we end, and it'll help us lead to the next one. But the third movie with the brother, how do you? I'm just gonna let you go for a minute and kind of talk about. I know you like the third movie.
Yeah, for sure. Let me give a shout out here to Mark from Tales from the Shelf. Thank you so much for the $4.99. Mark, really appreciate it. Says, cheers, fella. Great discussion. And I am seeing some awesome chats here going on the side. Yeah, guys, sometimes when we just get into the heat of the discussion, you know, it's more difficult to break for the chat, but love seeing you guys share stories about working at video stores. and your experience with the Scream franchise. And then we
I'll
got
give you
Chris
more
Snyder.
opportunities to
Oh no, you're cool, dude.
address
This
people.
is the
Sorry
way
about that.
it's always been this way with Late Night with the Davey, where I want the focus to be on the guest.
Yeah.
And I think that you guys know, the audience knows that
Rambling,
a
too.
lot of the time though, I spend so much time in the chat when it's just me. So you get a little bit of something different with Late Night with the Davey. And Chris Snyder from Movie Misfits Video jumps in and says, "Hey everyone, what's your favorite scary movie? Are we excited about Scream 7 or do we not care?" I'm excited about Scream 7 as long as they don't try to shoehorn Stu in, because I just think it would be really, I don't see it working. So I just want to see, I'm excited for Scream 7 because I think that Nev, I swear to this, even though I do not know her personally, I'm sure they gave her a good paycheck to bring her back, but I have no doubt in my mind that she told them, "I'm not coming back unless Kevin directs this movie," because he hasn't directed since Teaching Miss Tingle. And I bet that she was like, "I want Kevin back. We've always wanted to do one.
We all know how
You
good
guys boned me. These last two movies have been to the utmost degree, and I want my boy back." And I think that Kevin is going to direct the hell out of this movie. I think this is going to be the best Scream movie we've seen. I mean, I love 4, but I think it's going to be the best one collectively. The fans are going to feel like it's the best one we've seen in a really long time. So I'm really pumped for it. And you asked me about Scream 3, Coy. Yeah, I think the thing is the more I rewatch it, the more I dig it. And yes,
Good.
Scream 3, when people get foggy about, "Oh, Scream is so funny," I think they are thinking of Scream 2 and Scream 3, because like Randy is a lot funnier in Scream 2. Mickey's really silly. You got Derek singing the Partridge Family song and all this sort of stuff. And
That's
then in
my
part
favorite
3,
parts of that movie.
I love Scream 2. I think it's great. And Scream 3, it just seems the more and more I watch it, the more I'm like, yeah, this really works for me. I really like the Roman connection. There's something there when when he's dying actively and she reaches down and like holds his hand and he gives her this look. This look is almost
Of
like
loss.
He realizes
Of
that
loss.
he fucked up. Yeah, he's like, I could have had a family.
What could
Like
have been.
I could have had, even though my mom rejected me, I could have had a sister. And this is the way I went. It's like Luke and Darth Vader on the Scream level.
It was a look of, I might have made a terrible mistake.
Yeah, from Arrested Development, I've made a huge mistake,
Yeah,
Michael.
I might have went completely the wrong path, with this. And it was great acting because I got the same vibe. Like, oh my God, I could have just had family. That's what I wanted, and now you know what I mean? So
yeah. I think that maybe I just feel differently about it because Scream 5 and 6 didn't resonate with me in a very meaningful way. But sometimes I'm a big rewatcher. I watch these movies like once or twice a year, and sometimes the friggin' worm turns. Where like I never disliked Scream 3, but the more I watch it, the more I'm like, there's a lot to really like here. Plus, Dempsey is really good in that movie too. Yeah, I don't know. It's Scream 3 works for me quite a bit.
So who's your favorite? Like with the killers in the second one, the third one, and does Billy and Stu your favorite, or is the mom?
I think they gotta be. I think Stu and Billy.
The elephant is great, and
talk about giving it away. Like even the first time I saw that movie, I'm like, shit, he just gave it away in the hospital when he's like, he should have never gone back into that house. I'm like, oh, what the hell? Like that is the biggest dead giveaway of all time. But yeah, I mean, I get a kick out of all the killer reveals until 5 and 6. I thought those were pretty weak. But yeah, I mean, Stu and Billy just to me are kind of like the OG when they give their reveal. And this was something I wanted to touch on because it's something I didn't really notice until, maybe watching this movie last year sometime or 2023 sometime. When Billy is like, motives are overrated, Sid, but like, how about this? And he lets Sydney know that her mom destroyed his parents' relationship. And they show Stu. And Stu gives this look of like, again, another thing, like with Billy's dad earlier in the film, Stu gives this look is like he had no idea that Maureen Prescott broke up Billy's family. He had no idea, and Billy had never told him that that's what this was all about. So Stu really thought it was a game. They're making a movie, all that kind of fun stuff. And it was just like, oh, this would just be like a fun thing to do. And Stu has this look of realization of like, oh shit, like I'm in deeper than I thought I was with this guy. Like he's not even telling me the truth and I'm killing people with him. Like that's a problem.
I'm so sorry to everybody. I'm gonna have you pause the chat for 1 second. My landlord knocked on my door. I just need 2 seconds. I'll be right back.
All right. I'll say what's up to the chat while you do that. How about that? All right, everyone. While Coy hangs out with Mr. Landlord, I'm going to catch up with you guys here. We got this covered in here, Davey. We like to keep it live. I love that you guys are that way. It's something that I have to always mention that the community here is so amazing. You guys are so awesome to one another. I love that, one of the things I pride myself on is being able to engage with you guys a lot on the chat. When I hop into a chat, I love when the person is engaged with the chat. So something I pride myself on for sure. And yeah, I just, want to mention it if there's ever feels like a time where I'm like, oh man, I'm just not really jumping in there too much. King Matthew the Third, who's been hanging out in the chat for a while, said he's new here. So welcome, King Matthew. You're hanging out with the Death Squad. Hope you're having a great time. He says, I've also heard that Nev Campbell is currently trying to pick infants to play one of Sydney's other kids in Seven. She's picking infants? Well, I don't know about that, right? Don't they have some teenagers or some young 20-somethings that are going to play teenagers? I would imagine her kids would be somewhat grown up here. Maybe she's got a younger kid. Who knows? Who knows? Welcome to the chat, King Matthew the Third. Chris says every Scream movie has the Scooby-Doo elements, some more than others, but 3 fully leans into that, and I appreciate it for that. And it's the quote-unquote scariest of them all, too. Yeah, I think Scream 3 kind of gets a little bit of a bad rap because it does feel, relatively speaking, when you look at the franchise, it does feel it feels pretty far from the first movie. It is a little bit more silly, but you guys know how I am. Like, I like when there's a little bit of a difference in, I don't want every movie in a franchise to just totally be rinse and repeat. As long as it has the core elements of the franchise, I'm cool with it. I love that Scream 3 is just a little bit of a different flavor, just like Scream 4 is a different flavor. I think the first 4 movies all have very similar pillars and foundation, but I do feel like each one of them does something totally different. What's happening, Reign of Horror? How you doing? Welcome back to the chat. Hope you are doing well. King Matthew says, do you guys think that Dewey should have died in 2 instead of Randy? And if Dewey did, what if Randy was in 5 and took Dewey's death Dewey had in 5? Oh my gosh. I'm swimming over here, King Matthew. I don't know. I think that, like, really it doesn't matter. They wanted to kill. They wanted to, make us feel like anyone was, on the chopping block, potentially. I think that's ultimately why they offed Randy. And I'm guessing they probably kept Dewey around because of the romance with Gail. And they probably didn't ever want to have Randy and Sid get together because then there would be that question of, is Randy, one of the killers? Because there's that whole don't trust the love interest kind of thing that they got going on. Yeah, McScreamy, Patrick Dempsey. Yeah, Patrick Warburton, so funny in Scream 3. Listen here, Dewdrop. Love him so much. Oh, thank you so much for reminding me. Mark says, can we shout out Chris's upcoming Scream Who Killed Who series? I can't wait for that. Yeah, that is kicking off. Chris, correct me if I'm wrong. February 27th, I believe. I think he announced today that we're 50 days away. And yeah, Chris has been working for, gosh, man, how long has it been? About 7 or 8 months or something, putting together comprehensive video essays going through Who Killed Who for the entire Scream series. So that's going to be really exciting, man. If you guys don't sub over to Movie Misfits video, go over there and throw him a sub and get ready for some really high quality content coming here in 2025. Booyah, Kasha. Can't wait for the Scream series. Love it. No worries, man. No worries. We kept it lively, as Jamie was saying. We got I'm like, should I say the screen name or the real name? We got Gavin in the chat, Mud Nelson, one of our great channel members.
How long do you usually want this to go? Do you want to pull it in, or do you want to keep going?
Till tomorrow. We're gonna go all night.
Go all night.
Usually I do. It's just sort of up to, initially when I started the show, it was like, hey, if you can give me 45 minutes at least, I would ask for. And for some people, like when Mark from Tales from the Shelf was on, I think we talked for like 2 hours. So we can
What are we
sort
at
of,
right now?
we're at like an hour 20, and I probably talked for like 20 minutes before bringing you on. So our discussion's been about an hour. I mean, if you want to go for like, really, to me, it's more about,
We could
when
just
the
wrap it up with talking
conversation.
about 2. We could just say a couple more things about 2, because I think stopping
Sweet.
at kind of 3 and kind of letting 1, 2, 3 and just
Yeah, and
we can
then
always
pick it up
touch
from
back
there.
on. Yeah, if we have anything else we want to say next time, we can always bring it back up.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah. So once again, yeah, I guess I'll just hand it off to you. We touched on the opening briefly, but yeah, what for within Scream 2, stands out to you thematically, and like what do you think separates it? Either separates it from the first film, or just sort of like resets some of the expectations or the rules.
TV shows that are like so for example, like, do you ever watch Supernatural?
No, everyone tells me I should watch it
Have
though.
you ever
I watched
watched
Buffy. Buffy.
Buffy's a good, a little bit of, so like I'm more talking like have you ever seen like House, or have you, I get Buffy probably
I've
has
seen some
it.
episodes of
Buffy
House.
probably
Yeah.
has it. So there's like the patient gets sick. They they don't really know what's wrong. Maybe they have trouble getting them in, or getting the patient to agree to treatment or whatever. And then they kind of like check the patient's house. And then the patient, they try a treatment and the person gets worse. And then they're like, oh, they might die. And then there's like a character moment, and then they all wrap it up at the end. And it's like the formula. I feel like Scream 1 said, we want to do something new. And then Scream 2 said, this is how we can replicate that new thing again and again. With a thread. Like, we're going to create the thread, but we're going to allow for like the pieces to be moved around. Now, I don't think that the series has completely, you've talked about it before with the whole, like, I do think that they should have a killer go from one to the other. Sorry. I'm going to have to, I'm so sorry. One more second.
No worries.
I apologize.
Yeah.
I'm so
Castellar, Danielle Garcia brings that up as well. And I know Dave McRae said it multiple times. I'm sure that he said it, and I just started thinking about it that way, where, yeah, it would be really cool, if with like Scream 7 is sort of like a part 1, and we don't even know who the killer is. Like, the killer gets away. Or even if there's going to be multiple killers, at least one of them gets away and we don't know. I think that's what Coy's talking about there. And that would be really, really cool to have, that kind of ending of a Scream movie. I think that's a really great way to actually do something new within Scream, for sure. Let's see here. Aaron says, I like that they took Scream 2 out of Woodsboro. I'm almost always down for new environments. Yeah, they naturally progress it to college. It's really cool. Like, the people my age that sort of grew up with the Scream series, it's sort of like I was only 14 when the first one came out, but it felt like it was sort of following like my path in life, like at that right around that same time. And and then in Scream 3, they take it out to Hollywood. So it is like a change of location almost every time. I mean, 4 and 5 bring it back to Woodsboro, and then 6 takes it to New York. So most of the time, or at least half of the time, it's out of Woodsboro. That's pretty unique when you look at, most slasher franchises. Usually they stick to that one location, and maybe a couple of the movies veer off. Unless you're talking about Leprechaun, because they're always going all over the place. Although they did go back to the hood. So a little limited there as well. What if in Scream 7 the killer is after Gail instead of Sydney? It just wouldn't feel like a Scream movie to me. I think maybe that's one of the reasons why 5 and 6 didn't really do it for me either. Gail should have died in Scream 6. I don't know what the hell that was all about. I was ready to say goodbye and welcome in the fresh newness. Paula wants something that no one saw coming. I think the killer getting away with it would be one of those things. I mean, maybe we would see it coming because we're talking about it right now, but it's something they haven't done yet. If we have a killer reveal, just like we've had in every other Scream movie, then that's just, the, antithesis of what we're talking about right now. Yes, Dean, they do need to break formula, but not by bringing Stu back. Although Dean has a great video on Enter the Cinevault about how he would bring Stu back if they were going to do it Dean figured out the only way that makes one little lick of sense. So go check out his channel if you want to see his thoughts on that one. What if Gail's family gets involved in 7? She did mention them in 6 to Sam. Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm just sort of like, you know, I think we're grasping if we're, gonna, do that kind of stuff. I think we should move forward with the focus being on Sydney's family. I think another good idea for Scream 7 would be, like, if they want to bring Matthew Lillard back, do it at a convention over a weekend, and it's an actual horror convention in our world, and the actors are playing themselves, and there's a killer that's so sick of the Scream franchise that he wants to take them out. So it's like extra meta on the meta.
My landlord needed to pick up a mail key. I'm so sorry to you guys.
This guy, now he owes you. Be like, my friend Davey Deathray said that, like, so you owe me $200.
Yeah.
Why is he's mad at you?
No, I was saying that you're mad at him. That you're mad at him.
Yeah.
Like,
my friend
Davey's mad.
Like, he's big time. Did you know he has, like, barely over 1,000 subs?
I didn't want to be rude to you. I'm sorry. It's my first time on here, and I actually
no, you're totally cool, man.
Earlier told a couple of people, I was like, if you're gonna stop by, just message me, and then my phone was going off and pinging and everything. So
it's all good, man.
But 2, I rewatched that one recently, and I've seen it the least. And I will say 2 is one of those ones where I love the opening. I don't hate. I dislike very much Jada Pinkett Smith. I do not like Jada Pinkett Smith. It makes it harder for me to enjoy the opening.
Oh, wow. Film. I think she's really good as a performer there. Regardless of how I feel about her,
it's just
I think she plays the character so well. Like, she is
her being her.
Well, and maybe that's true. So smart casting. Somebody had to write the dialogue for her. Yeah. And I think who is it that plays the boyfriend?
You don't think that was improvised? The whole. I
don't think it. No, they would never let an actor or an actress write and just improvise their own dialogue. They would never do that. They probably wrote that saying, "Hey, we're gonna." No, this is what probably happened. Is they probably in the script they probably wrote the name of the character and then in brackets put Jada Pinkett Smith type. That's probably what they did.
The guy that wrote it
is it Mike Epps? Is the boyfriend?
Sure the guy who wrote it was
Omar.
White. I don't think he wrote that dialogue.
No,
dialogue about a bunch of stupid white people getting killed and the white mask and the white. I don't know. I don't know.
Dude, I think
I don't know.
Boy, I think you're way off on this one. I think that if you know anything about Hollywood, you know that
this is the 90s.
Yeah,
we're talking about a different time.
They were like that then too, where it was like, hey, we're the best white people. We can even make fun of ourselves in our own movies. That's how they were. They've always been that way in Hollywood. They've always thought they've always thought they're the most progressive people in the whole entire world. I guarantee that was written specifically for her because Omar Epps' character completely refutes it. So right away you have the black guy that's like making fun of her for saying that. So they work it into the script. There is no way on God's green earth that anyone would ever let Jada Pinkett Smith write any lick of dialogue for any film ever. Like, I will die on that hill for sure. That's Hollywood raising their hand and being like, we get it. See, we're making fun of slashers again. Because that's what it is. They're making fun of slashers.
Virtue signaling a little bit going on there.
Yeah, Tommy Davidson, when he did his stand-up back in the day, did this hilarious bit about how, like, we're always the first ones getting killed, and he's like and he does this hilarious bit, and that was in the like mid 80s. That was before In Living Color. So that was something that like people were making fun of within horror anyways. I have full confidence that Kevin Williamson wrote that dialogue for Jada Pinkett Smith. Like, I would be so surprised to learn that she had any creative input on that movie.
Strike me that, because it doesn't feel, a lot of movies nowadays, like Black Christmas, you talked about that one. Like, a lot of them feel like agenda driven. There's a lot of movies that feel like they almost create me to say something.
Sure.
I am sorry to get on kind of like a conversation about this, but I feel like that
it's part of the movie.
when I was a kid, I noticed it and it threw me
Yeah.
off. And I was kind of like, what the hell? You know, because imagine, and it's the classic thing where imagine anyone else saying that about anyone else. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
Yeah.
oh, a bunch of stupid this person,
Nope.
a bunch of the, you know, and it's just like one of these things where it felt weird because it's a criticism I don't even agree with horror movies. I don't feel like I can see why someone would think that.
Yeah.
You know, but I think it's
That's why it's so smart. That's why it's so smart that he wrote it that way.
Yeah.
Like, and they really like when did you say you were born, Coy?
Oh, I was born 94.
Yeah, dude, they've always been this way in Hollywood, man. This is not something new. They try to tell you and convince you that it's something new and we're finally having movies where women and diversity and blah blah blah. No, no, no. Watch RoboCop. The sergeant, the number one guy in charge of the police office is a black dude. But if you paid attention to like movies now, you would think that like black men never had positions of power in film, or that. And then the number two is a woman that is with Murphy the whole friggin' time. And they forget that the Princess Leia is like the main lead that's like laughing at the two guy leads in Star Wars being like, this is a rescue? You guys are friggin' pathetic. Like, I've been doing this like my whole life. So this whole idea of like now people are saying these controversial things about, no way. Like, this was intentionally written by Kevin Williamson, and it's why he's such an awesome writer, and it's why Scream 7's gonna rock socks.
So do you think he's...
Boom, there it is. Jamie says
kind of an odd do you think he's skewering it? Like,
I think he's bringing up something that people are active. No, I think he's... So I think it's both. I think he's getting both. He's having his cake and eating it too. Because I think he's trying to say like, hey, we've heard this from the black community that this is how they feel. So we're going to have a black character and she's going to have these feelings. And then her boyfriend is going to sort of be like,
well, what is the movie? Like, I can't buy that because they kill two black people immediately. That's the first thing they do.
It's Scream. Well, that's what we're talking about, is they upped the meta in the second one because they leaned into more
so she everything goes, we're the throwaway black character. Now we're going to have two throwaway black characters and kill them immediately. I don't know what the statement is there. What's the statement there? What's even like, that's not even a joke. Like, what's
it is?
No, it's not. What's the statement there?
It's like a 3-joke sandwich. It's saying that this is all that happens. Then the boyfriend being like, you're crazy for that. And then they both die anyways. So it's just totally undercutting the whole thing.
Let's refute the problem, and then let's do
the
thing immediately after.
It's ironic. It is a triple layered joke because that's how good that movie. Dude, honestly, the Scream 2 opening is amazing. The only problem that I have is there's no way a knife would go through that divider and get him right in the air.
It's the time frame that we live in that makes it confusing, because I feel like back then you could take it as a commentary, and it's just a commentary. And like I said, now it would be a virtue signal, or it would be something where it's like someone's making a statement about it. And I feel like when I watched it, I was kind of thrown off because, like I said, it's hard to not look at it through a modern lens of kind of like, and I feel like we're overly sensitive now to it too, because it there. It's there. You know, I talk to my brother all the time. My brother's like really far with that whole thing where it's like anything he picks up, man, he's like, no. And then I try to be reserved because there are people I respect a lot that do. Sorry if this is a conversation you don't want to have on the channel, but there are people that...
Dude, this is totally fine. I think this is fine. We're not here like picking sides. We're talking about something that's like has been relevant in filmmaking and storytelling forever. And now we're at a point in time where, like you're saying, they really lay it on thick and they sacrifice the story to make their political point. Whereas here, I really do think that they're just shining a lens on, hey, we know what y'all saying about our movies. So here's Jada Pinkett Smith saying it right to your face. Yes, it's true. And then, yes, they're dead.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand that part of it, but it's one of those things where it's like, even reviewers nowadays, like, there are people I respect a lot that I feel like are overly sensitive to it. And then I feel like there's people that I respect a lot that are like, not that they don't see it, but they think it's overblown, or it's like people are, too sensitive. And I don't know, man. Like, I feel like even when I was young, there was always, Die Hard 3 is like one of my favorite. I actually like it almost more than the original. And I feel like that movie handles the whole race dynamic really well, where it's like, let's acknowledge that there is like a view of the
Clearly, there's
world.
some sort of difference here, and it
Yeah, there's
doesn't mean
a little
one is
there.
better or worse. There's just differences, you know.
And then with Scream, it feels like I said that whole opening. I do like the theater opening because I feel like that's a very city. Do you ever see a phone booth with
No, Colin Farrell,
yeah, it's highly
kind of like a Hitchcockian kind of thriller.
yeah. This isn't spoilers, but there's a scene where a gun's going to go off, and he says if that gun goes off, everyone's going to get mad and freak out and run around, and it's going to cause commotion. And the guy's like, this is New York, like I can fire the gun
Yeah.
and no one's even going to blink, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
one of those things where like you're watching this and you're like, I buy that this happened in a crowded room and everyone's just kind of like, oh, is she doing a performance art, what's happening
Yeah,
here?
because they're all wild
Into
and
the
wacky in the
movie?
theater.
Is this
Yeah.
kid being silly, like some kind of frat
Yes.
thing, like what's happening here, you know?
Yeah.
I love it. And her scream, she sells it. That's what her performance is great. I don't know.
It's amazing.
Things where, again, modern context of knowing who she is,
Yeah.
it really messes me up. So
I try to separate all that stuff where I'm like, you know what, regardless of how I feel about the person, it's just, is the performance good? Like, that's all I care about. I don't care how pretty you are, how ugly you are, or what you believe politically. Maybe if I know a little bit too much about your personal life, like with Tom Cruise, it can be a little bit tough because I know so much about him personally. But as long as the performance can just kind of suck me in, I think that character is perfect for her. It seems like she was probably pumped that she got to say those things.
That's what I'm saying.
and get paid for it,
And then what's your opinion? The second one,
I like her in Demon Knight too, Tyler.
Nev Campbell had kind of the Jamie Lee Curtis thing going on, right? Where she kind of
She's very removed from this movie.
Denied the series a little bit, didn't she?
Well, I don't know if Nev Campbell denied it, but I will say that when I go back and revisit Scream 2, I'm sort of like, where's Sydney? There are huge chunks of this movie where I'm just like, where is she? Because I think it's because the more of the kill scenes are a bit more elaborate. So when Sarah Michelle Gellar is getting hers, that's like a pretty long scene. And then Dewey and Gail's like, we didn't see their romance. We saw the bud of their romance, and then now we see them coming together after they've broken up, but they rekindle, and so we spend a lot of time with Dewey and Gail, and so there are sections of this movie where it's just like, where's Sydney? Until the car chase scene, which is one of the most tense epic scenes in all of slasherdom. That one elevates that movie just by itself.
I have
just that scene.
Story about that if you want to hear
it.
Yeah,
go for it.
My older brother, he's just turned 40, I think. Just turned 40. He was never really big on this. Like, he didn't hate them. He wasn't like Frank Riker or anything where he's like, these are pile of trash.
Shout out to Frank Riker from the Slaughtered Lamb movie podcast.
But he was always kind of like, it wasn't an idea or a visual thing that jumped at him. They said, I gotta watch this movie kind of thing. And I was watching that one time when he came over, and he goes like, oh, which one is this? And I go, it's the second one. And it was right about the car scene. And I was like, what this is? I was like, if you don't hook them with them crawling over, I mean, God, it's
dude.
And especially the first time you watch it, because obviously you can't recreate that tension, but the very first time you see that scene, it's amazing. It's really is.
The rod through the guy's head is so gruesome. To get that in an R-rated movie, and he's like twitching with his gun or whatever, just all of that. The ear is sticking through the windshield. So it is like, it's awesome because people act like Scream is like pop horror or whatever, and I'm like, well, that scene is about as tense as it gets for a slasher there.
They tried in Halloween 2018 when Michael's in the back of the car and she's got to get out.
Oh yeah.
Tried the same vibe, and it didn't work the same way. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they've tried similar things. I mean, even in Curse of Michael Myers, there's a part where Kara knocked Michael down the stairs, but she has to step over him. And that's before this movie, but not nearly as tense. They did such a great job with that scene.
Even though you're on it's like construction going on, but even though you're on a public street, it's a very quiet, once the tension and they're like, okay, this is what we're doing, and you gotta move real soft, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It just kind of drains out, and you're in the moment, you're just kind of doing the thing. It's very good. I like it a lot.
Oh, it really puts you there.
How do you
It
feel
really
about the killer reveal and everything? I feel like that's worth talking about.
Yeah, I think I like the killer reveal in part two. I do, of
Motives
course, I
and
think
everything.
it's totally fair to say that Laurie Metcalf is certainly over the top in her performance there, but she says some really funny shit when she's like, "It's called a makeover. Should think about it. You should think about it too. Look a little tired yourself there, Gail." Like that shit is hilarious. And then I don't know what it is, but I love when Timothy Oliphant goes, "Billy's mother," and then he's like, "Didn't see it coming, did ya?" Like
Yeah,
it's
so
like
good.
Jack
He's coming it up
Nicholson.
so bad,
Yeah,
dude.
it's like Jack Nicholson's Joker as a killer in Scream. So I know maybe it's confusing that I like it, even though it's over the top. I don't know. For whatever reason, I just think the action element of the reveal is nice. There's a really cool chase. Yeah, I kind of like how the killers turn on each other. That Mrs. Loomis is like, "Oh, dude, no, that trial's not happening, bud. Like, I'm killing you. That's what's happening."
They brought it up in the documentary, but I love the line where she's like, "My motives aren't as '90s as
Yeah,
it's very because
yeah.
it's kind of what you were
Good
talking
old
about.
fashioned revenge.
It goes with the opening of like we're gonna talk about like what's relevant, but at the end of the movie, we're gonna link it up with just the good old fashioned. Like this is just someone very upset about what happened to their someone that they care about. You know what I mean? So.
It is a little bit of a cheat because we don't know that it's Billy's mom. She uses that Debbie Salt. So there's a little bit of that Friday the 13th. Like how would we have ever suspected that was Billy's mother? But yeah, I mean, I think the killer reveal works for me. I do like they're leaning into like that was like the dawn of cell phones and everything. And there's that whole action scene or kind of suspenseful scene in the quad or whatever where they're trying to find the person, and it's like not everyone has a phone, so you really do just see those 4 or 5 people trying to find who the killer is. Yeah, I mean, I think Scream 2, it definitely ups the ante. It's a little bit more mature. It was really fun seeing that movie in the theater on opening night and just being like, "Oh, I'm not gonna have the killers spoiled for me." Because one of my friend's sisters told me that the boyfriend was the killer in the first Scream. She didn't tell me Stu was part of it, but as I'm sitting there watching it for the first time, I knew that Billy was was
Oh, really?
the killer. Yeah, it fucked me up, man. That ain't cool. That ain't cool, man.
That's one of the few spoilers that matters. I feel like actually really really bored. That's actually kind of cool.
This is what I did. I asked her, I was like, "Is there any nudity?" And she was like, "No, but there's a scene where they have sex and you don't see her boobs, and she had sex with her boyfriend, who's the killer." And I was like, "Oh, you bitch."
Oh man. Yeah, the not seeing the boobs thing, that's real quick reference to that. Wes was literally like they wanted, like we knew you guys were expecting that, so we did.
It's Weinstein's too. Yeah, they probably extra want it.
Well, it's one of those. I don't. There's a lot of stuff in the late '90s. Are you familiar with like the whole like postmodernism?
No, not really. No.
So it's like this. It's kind of the idea that like art eventually gets to the point where you take modern ideas and you kind of send them up, and you're like, well, what is it's a dissection. And people were saying that like in the late '90s, that's a lot of what media had become, was like a dissection of all the things previously. There were a lot of video games. I know you're not a huge video game guy, but there were a lot of video games that were like, you're just playing a game and you're killing people, and are you really the good guy? And is that really like what do you really just want to sit there and kill people all day? Is that really good? And they were doing that. Like a lot of games were doing that. Metal Gear Solid, a lot of like media was kind of pointing at the person interacting with it and saying like, what's your intention? You know what I mean? Like, why are you here? Which is it's not a good movie, but the Joker kind of did that recently. Where it's like, and people didn't like it because it did that. They were like,
I like the first Joker. I haven't seen the second one yet, but I like the first one quite a bit.
It's a bad movie, but it's the wrong movie to say what they said, but it's saying something that's interesting to me. And it's like, I literally had people walk out of that film and they go, it's not, you know, they're not even talking about character wise. They're just like, that's not the Joker, and it's not.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
And then if you've seen the movie, there's a line in the movie where he basically says, and it's kind of the whole philosophy angle where it's basically he goes, you were all okay with it when it's the Joker, and then now this movie it's very clearly not the Joker, and now you're like, oh, it's all bad. It's just, oh, I don't even want it anymore, you know. And it's just kind of that idea. It's like, well,
it's about the context.
That's the point. The director basically saying, like, that's the point. You only wanted it when it was delivered to you in this way, and then if it's not delivered that way, you're like, oh, it's just, I'm going to throw the whole thing out, you know. And it's kind of interesting to me. And you know, to lead into our next discussion with Scream, that's what I feel like the series kind of. I feel like they do you know what Flanderization is? Where people, it's like Ned Flanders from The Simpsons. Do you know what that is?
No, I've never heard that term used. What, would they just sort of make everything safe or something?
No, so it's a thematic term. So like Ned Flanders in the early
Flanderism. I have to look this up.
Yeah, look it up. You'll see it. It's actually
talk to me about it while I look it up, though.
So it's like the concept that Ned Flanders, and they've done this with a lot of characters. You can read it if it. I'll let you read it off real fast. Do you see it?
Flanderization, the act of taking a single action or trait of a character within a work and exaggerating it more and more until it consumes. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I think they took what they liked about Scream when they looked at Scream as a whole, and they said, this is what Scream is in our eyes. And they didn't actually look at what Scream really is. And then they made a movie that's kind of like a send up to what they see as Scream, which is 5. And I think 5's serviceable. Like, it's not a bad movie. It has
its moments. It's better than 6, but
it's caught in the whole legacy.
I called the killers like almost right away in 5.
I think I called it in the opening scene when he's in the parking lot with her and they're sitting on the ground or whatever. They're having a
and it was I was like, man, what a missed opportunity to not keep Kyle Gallner around for a little bit, because not only is he a great actor, but it would have been a really nice red herring to keep around longer, and then you could kill him a lot better than they did. That was the weakest kill I've ever seen in my life. It's like a CG blade that goes into his neck with no resistance and comes out with no resistance. It was so bad.
Did you call both killers, or you just called one?
Yeah, I didn't do it until the hospital scene, though. I was like, oh, I think it's her, and I think it's the boyfriend. There was something about the vibe during that scene that sort of tipped me off there. And he acted way too in the dark about horror movies.
I still can't buy that that's her killing.
So stupid.
It doesn't make any sense. Like, there's
so friggin' weak.
Where I'm like,
yeah.
And then, you know what's funny about 5? Were you like really caught up in the lead up to that movie?
Nah, I was like, prove it. I was like, prove it to me, guys. Get me into this, because it's not Wes anymore and it's not Kevin Williamson. So prove it to me.
There were scenes where, like, in the trailer, there was like it was showing moments that you see in the movie for half a second, which like a stab reference, and it was showing it to like kind of throw everyone off. I think they thought he had like a gold mask.
Oh yeah, the flamethrower and everything.
And people had these moments where they're like, that movie looked way more interesting than what we actually like. They thought it was going to go way further in the meta, and they thought it was going to bring you back, and they thought it was going to do all these things, and it's just, it didn't do any of that. It didn't do any of that. And it felt like one of those movies where it's like, I'm going to be honest, it wasn't a lot better than what's that Texas Chainsaw Massacre one they did, where they
the 22
for Netflix. It kind of gave me that vibe, like, we just want to bring back, and we're going to throw bags of money at everybody until they do it. We're just going to do something. Production
value didn't look very good, I think, in Scream 5. I think it looked better in Scream 6, but yeah, I mean, we can totally, like, what would be really fun is the next time we bring you on, we should talk about 4, 5, and 6. It would be kind of cool to dip into those. I know we didn't really talk much about 3 here, just a little bit, but I think it would be fun to sort of dive into
on it, as
I'm gonna
have less to say about 6.
I'll have to watch it. I'll have to watch both of those again. I've watched 5 twice, and I've only seen 6 once. And like I said, there's some things I really liked about that movie, but man, we'll see how if I feel any different about the end. I was so distracted watching the end of that movie. I just was sitting there thinking, well, whatever. I'll save it for the next discussion.
Yeah, and two, I think
Take care, Cody.
two's a nice package. Nev not being there, it's funny. There's a line in the documentary where she basically says like, I was like, they asked her about the second one. She goes, I was contractually obligated. Like the way she said it, the delivery of I was obligated to do two. And it's when you see the lack of screen time, you're kind of like, oh, and I don't think it hurts the film. When I've rewatched it, actually, I don't think it really hurts the film. But when you take it in the context of 5, she's barely there. Yeah. And then you take it in the context of 4, she's barely. I'm starting to get to the point where I'm almost having the Jamie Curtis thing, where I'm just like, I like you as a person, and I like you as a character, but I'm kind of like, I really don't think we need you around. Like, I'm going to be honest, I don't know if we need you,
I mean, they've always been ensemble movies, but we, again, there's that fog of looking back. I think people like call it Mandela effect, whatever it is, people attribute their own. It's just like when people say screen is like comedy. Like they're totally wrong, but in their heads, they're pushing together all the jokey parts of the movies in the Scream franchise they've seen. They're attributing that all to the very first film instead of spreading it out the way it really is. These movies have always been ensemble movies, just like a lot of slasher films have. And yes, Sydney is the main character, but she's not in the movies, all of them really. I mean, in part 3, she's like by herself for a lot of the time. And then she pops in, and it's like this big moment when she pops in, kind of like in Scream 5 when she pops in.
I love the opening of 3, by the way. We have to talk about it.
Cotton Weary.
So good.
So you're a fan of 100% Cotton, huh?
Dude, it's the lead up to him getting to the house, and then the whole, what's about to happen. You're like, she ain't gonna believe it. It's just it's good. It's really good. I actually, and I was sad to see him go. I actually think Steve Schreiber was. They've killed a couple of characters in the series where I'm like, why'd you do that?
Well, just to keep us on our toes and to know that no one's safe. That's why it pissed me off in Scream 5 when Mindy said, or not Mindy, the one killer, the girl killer, was like, we had to kill Dewey because we're not some lame ass cash grab sequel. And I'm like, man, whoever wrote that is a fucking asshole, because it sounds like you're shitting on Scream 4 for not killing one of the main characters. But this whole series, they kill Randy in the second one. They kill, Leave at the beginning of the third movie. And he just had his redemption in Scream 2. I love his heroic moment in Scream 2. And you find out that Cotton really is a good guy. Like, yes, he was having an affair with a married woman, but who the hell wasn't? And he's not, in his heart, he's not a bad guy. Sure, he wants to, have all the clout he can and be famous. That's a lot of people would take that chance if they could. I love, like, when he starts driving crazy in LA, because you live out in that area, right?
I'm north of LA. Thankfully, I'm out of the fire range right now, which is nice. Yeah,
that's awesome to hear. And I've been out. Oh, it's totally crazy out there. Yeah,
all of Pasadena's burning down right now. Like,
it's fucking nuts, man. And of course, it's windy as shit. Like right when it's happening. I guess it's on the coast, so it's always probably fairly windy. Yeah, but yeah, when he's driving through the traffic, it's like, my brother used to live out there. I used to visit all the time, and it's just like, I think about that. I'm like, man, if you had to get home in a hurry to rescue or save your girlfriend or wife in that kind of situation, like, you really would just have to like ram people's cars, like the way he did. It's really intense.
It would be like Die Hard, where he's like I said in 3, where he's like, I meant through the park, He's like, I'm gonna say Parkway. He's like, you said Parkway. Yeah. Like, I meant through the park, bro.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's, Scream 3 does have, I mean, that's a big swing to get rid of a guy like Leave in that one, especially when we're just starting to really like him.
The Hollywood set,
and another instance of them making an ironic joke at the beginning, because when he talks to his agent, he's like, yeah, I read the script for the next Stab movie. I'm in it for like 5 minutes. They kill me right away. Like, what the hell is this shit? Like, so similar to Scream 2, it's like he's calling attention to the thing, and then they just go ahead and do it.
Yeah, and the third one, the whole like like I said, the whole set when she goes on to the what is it like? It's her house essentially, right? When she walks in and it's
Yeah, it's like her and Stu's house are right next to each other just because of the set. Yeah.
yeah, it's a good scene though, where they have her kind of on set when they finally do bring Nev in. That whole
Hmm.
movie has it's like it was toned back for violence, you could tell. It was toned
Hmm.
back during the kill, but the whole movie
Yeah.
is a good movie. I feel like it's a pretty decent movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame that they had to change trajectory because of everything that happened with Columbine. I don't think that that's really necessary. It's one of those things where it's like if I were in charge of creative decisions, I wouldn't let real life stuff, keep a production from doing those things. 'Cause it's like, dude, these slasher movies have existed forever. It's not like it's one thing if it's like a national tragedy and your movie has something in it that's very, very similar, but something like whatever, because they just basically wanted a cult of teenagers that were like Billy and Stu followers.
Yeah.
And they thought that that was too closely related to Columbine, which I thought was weird. Apparently, there was going to be more guns involved in the movie, and they didn't want to do that. And so, again, we are living through a sensitive time now, but Hollywood's always been like, the city of friggin' fake sensitivity.
The thing about 6 that I liked was, and they barely did it, but Ghostface with the shotgun was awesome.
It was crazy.
Very happy about that. I was like, this is finally what we need. And it's just that little moment.
Yeah, it's not like it would be weird if he was going around using it the whole time. That would be strange. But to use it in a moment that would be advantageous and useful,
so the way
makes
they
sense
should
to me.
have played it, the way they should have played it is we all know there's going to be multiple killers. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
So they should have had one with a knife, the other guy with a gun after he gets a shotgun. So maybe carries a shotgun around with him. It's an identifier for some of the attacks, and then you have the third killer with the dad, right?
Yeah.
So, or just whoever it happens to be in the moment. But you have the third killer, and then they could just be like a classic, so you have a knife, you have just classic kills, and then you have like the gun.
It was probably the dad in the shop, right? Because he would have been proficient with a shotgun, being a homicide detective, right? He might be proficient with that.
Did you guess that too? Oh, we'll save all that for the next time.
Yeah, we'll save all that.
I'm sorry.
Or he could have just used it like Michael Myers and just stabbed somebody through like a wall, like he does in part 4.
Sorry for rambling. This has been great though. I had a great time.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. Yeah,
it's a minute ago, but it's been wonderful. It was good.
Yeah, man, this has been awesome. I'm pumped. I'm really, the cool thing about being able to set these goals with the super chats, guys, is it's just a good way to sort of gauge your interest other than asking you to say something in the chat. So, when I set that goal of 5 super chats of $5 or more, and we're able to reach that within 45 minutes or whatever the heck it was from the show beginning here tonight, it's awesome because it says to me that you guys want to see Coy back here and you want to hear more Scream talk. And so I know that when we arrange the next collaboration, you guys are going to be there and be pumped for it. So really appreciate everyone for dropping those. And yeah, man, this has been awesome, Coy. This has been really cool.
Notes. I had some notes and I just kind of started talking. And
there's no rules here. There's no rules here. It can be. I thought it was pretty well organized without being. Of course, we don't want it to be like rigid, right? So it's like I
try to let it go where it needs to go and then come back.
Yeah. And next time around, what we could do when we do our next one is I could just throw up a little banner on the screen that says Scream 4 and we talk about that one, and then one for each movie, and then that way maybe that visual will keep us a little on track if we want to be that way, and it'll let the audience know what we're talking about.
It's hard with this series because they're literally
you want to bounce around.
The plots are married together. They really are. So when you talk about one, you're like, oh well, that leads almost directly into this, or it leads almost directly into that. So there's a lot of conversations where when you talk about one, you almost want to reference how the others handled it as well.
Exactly. Yeah, I think doing the bounce around is totally fine. And the key thing is this is a very popular franchise. The folks that are tuning in and watching this, they know what we're talking about. So even if we're bouncing around kind of all over the place, it's not a bunch of novices up in this piece on the Davey Deathray channel. These people know their shit.
I do want to say, though, we were talking about, or someone asked earlier about thoughts on the newest one. I want them to do the kind of what Predator's doing with the whole like prey. where it's like I mean, it would be really nice to just have a killer that's not tied to Woodsboro, and
Sure.
it's just someone just decided to use the Ghostface moniker. They
Yeah.
decide to adopt similar persona, and you just kind of have it be its own little thing. You know, I feel like, and then do 90 minutes, like just do a 90-minute little fun.
That's what I thought they were going to do with 5 and 6, and then they lean on the legacy characters in 5, and then they brought some of them back on 6, and I'm like, you guys are acting like you're doing something different, and you're not. Like, you should have gone full R word, to quote, to loosely quote Tropic Thunder.
We wouldn't have got that if Halloween did. Halloween is a, I hate to say this, but it tainted 2018, kind of tainted the well for a little while. I'm gonna be really like, yeah, man, you make that much money, you know. Look at Scream, right? Look at Scream.
Oh, gotcha.
How many movies tried to do what Scream did after Scream? And you
A
have
whole shitload.
You have, you know, I Know What You Did Last Summer is okay. You have a couple of, you know, I actually want to talk about this in the next one. Have you ever seen Cry Wolf?
No, but I know what you're talking about.
You should.
That's like one of the first internet slasher thrillers.
You should see
right?
that. Yeah. It's almost exact. It's them trying to capitalize on Scream. Now it's a good copycat.
Okay.
But it's a Scream.
Okay.
Copycat. It's
cool.
It's probably one of the most direct examples I can point to of a copycat film.
Oh, okay. Sweet.
I see. So yeah, that's kind of what and we didn't touch on 4 much. We'll do that next time with the whole thing and all that. I know it's funny. I'm having a Mandela with Kirby. I was. How does that movie? Because I didn't finish it today. Do they say she's dead at the end?
No, it's just one of those things where she gets like, you know,
hurt?
Getting stabbed in the stomach by like a 12-inch blade is very serious business, but movies act like it's not a big deal. It's the worst place to get a stabbing, and it's probably going to kill you. There's a lot of organs there. So yeah, she just survives somehow. We'll get into all that because man, oh man, was that a big swing and a miss in Scream 6 for me.
Oh
Holy
yeah,
shit.
That's a knock. They did.
Oh my god, that was really, really rough. That was difficult to watch. I feel bad for Hayden Panettiere. But we'll dive in more of that. Yeah, it would be fun. It would be fun to talk about the imitators a little bit. I'll watch Cry Wolf and we can talk about some of the imitators. But yeah, man, this has been awesome. We've talked for almost 2 hours here about the first 3 Scream films with a big emphasis on that first one, of course, you know, because it started it all. So yeah, guys, we will be back. I'm not sure when we'll arrange it. You know, let's put together some time. Next month is actually the 25th anniversary of Scream 3. So it might be kind of cool sometime around then to have you back on, just not even on Late Night with the Davey, just bring Coy back on for a good old-fashioned chat here.
I hate to be that guy, but you do owe me a Daybreakers.
I do owe you a Daybreakers. I do. I haven't even seen it. I still got to watch it. That was that Ethan Hawke and Willem Dafoe?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
I would like to do a little 10-minute if you just want to do a little fast. I would love to talk to you about that for a few minutes. That's a great movie.
Oh, for sure. We can chat about that too. Yeah, I remember when that came out, my brother told me you got to check this out, and I just never did. And then you brought it up.
I saw that with my brother. I actually.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he was. You know, like I said, he's about 10 years older than me, so it was one of those things where he kind of took me. But yeah, that movie's great. Yeah,
hell yeah.
It's got a nice little revisionism of like vampires. It kind of takes
the vampire mythos. Nice.
All right, guys.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Coy, do you have something coming up here on the channel? Anything planned for the relative, you know, near future here?
Late Nosferatu video.
Sweet.
Yeah, a little bit of a conversation about that. Spoiler alert. It was good. It was okay. I can't.
3.5 for me, something like that. Yeah.
Oh,
well, hey, who could have pulled that off though? Because they wrote some wacky stuff into that script, man.
Yeah,
they wrote some. I'm like, I don't even know if anyone could have done that. Maybe they shouldn't have told her to do that. Like mid argument was even weirder when she does that mid argument. You're like,
credit to these.
You're like, I'm like, this is like every woman I've ever dated.
Dude, she went into like actual hysterics.
Yes. Good old fashioned hysteria.
Yeah, I was like, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
You know, there's did you see was it First Omen?
I need to see that one still. I heard great things about
There's
that one.
a similar moment near the end of that movie.
Yeah, I don't know if
Everyone
that
been
if
doing lately, man.
I don't know if the seizing, I don't know if seizures, they kind of make me giggle a little bit on movies. I don't know what it is. I don't
Especially
know.
when they're like you don't fall on the ground, like they're just like full on like I'm gonna
Yeah.
stand up and have a conscious body fit and
Yes.
goes across the silly. I don't know.
That's what I thought. One of the things that like Late Night with the Devil did well is they had like possession stuff, but they didn't really have any like, jittery seizing or anything. Like they did it in a way to where it was just like a lot more unsettling and not as silly.
Yeah, I love that movie. It's
Yeah, I'm a quite a fan. Quite a fan. Well, hell yeah, Coy. We will keep an eye out for your Nosferatu conversation. Guys, the link to Coy's channel is in the description below, so go ahead and check his channel out. Let's get that sub count pumped up. I want to see I'm going to check it tomorrow, and I want to see a climb in numbers here for our buddy Coy.
So I'm going to be doing live streams with like horror games. That'll be like my live stream. If I'm on live, I'm probably going to be playing games. I'll be talking movies though, chatting, and then also a lot of if I can get to 50 subscribers, they block mobile live streams unless you're at 50.
Oh, gotcha.
And once I bought a new phone. I have like an actual nice phone now. So once I can get to like doing live streams off of my phone, that's going to be a big help for me to just kind of like I have thoughts, let's get out there sort of thing. Right now, I got to sit in front of a computer and be at the desk, and the kids have to be,
locked up.
Yeah, I got to put them in the dungeon, dude.
So, well, you're at 31 so far. So guys, go on over to Coy's.
Like 5, I think. So that's nice.
Nice,
you guys. Yeah.
Yeah. If you've not subbed over there, guys, go and check out the channel. Throw them a sub. Let's see if we can get them to that 50 mark here. That would be awesome to see everyone jump on over there and show Coy some love. Well, hell yeah, man. We will we'll keep an eye out, and then you and I will talk offline about putting together the next Scream chat. And I gotta watch Daybreakers.
This is really great. Sorry for taking so long. And it's really
no.
Dude, you're such a nice guy. I really appreciate it. It was really nice. It was really good meeting you at H45. It was really important. I was like, I went to that thing. I was like, this is something I need to be at. And then you introduced yourself, and then I ended up sitting right behind you at the thing, and you were riffing on stuff. And I was like, this is someone I could talk to. Like, this is glad. If you ever want to have like not even regular, but just like someone on for reviews, if you want to do anything like that, I'm down to kind of collab with people and just get my feelers out there. So.
Hell yeah, man. Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, it was, meeting you at H45 was really cool because I knew, we knew each other just from being in like Dave McRae's chat and stuff like that. So like, or Slaughtered Lamb, probably both of those chats. So it was just so cool at that event to meet, people like you and meet Cody Snyder and just meet people that we were like buddies in the chat with, because that was not long after I started my channel. So I was just getting to know you as one of the people in the chat.
Yeah, I feel like it was a good thing for me too, because it was like I feel like it was like rarely where I decided like, okay, I kind of want to do something with this,
Hell yeah, man.
It's taken a year to get to the point where I'm actually starting, but like I said,
the most important thing is that you're actually doing it. So it's I wanted to have a YouTube channel back in 2008, and it took me so long. But I can't like sit there and be like lament the past. I mean, like, well, I just got to make the best out of the future here, and just got to keep showing people my personality and relating with people.
You brought up Cody Leach earlier, and I always use him as an example because it's one of those people where it's like you could tell he had to grind to get to where he was. Actual grind, and you could see where it's like he had to. There was a point where he basically quit his job and pivoted, and made a real hard pivot. And thankfully, I'm in a spot where I don't have to do a super hard pivot. And I can kind of ease into it, and I've given myself a little bit of a runway. So I'm really going to take it seriously. I think I only did like 2 videos in 4 months. On the last one, the production value is going to go up, and I should be getting them out once a week. That's the goal, is once a week.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, and it's just, I'm in it for the long haul. I know that that's the way it is, and I have no problem with that, because for me, I'm sort of doing it on one level, just doing it for myself, and let the chips fall where they may. I'm not out there like chasing anything. It has been incredibly inspiring to see so many awesome people hanging out in the chat and to feel like I have friends and, you know, people who seem to like my personality, even though I've never met them in real life, which is a crazy thing and something that I never take for granted, and am so thankful for every time I hop on a chat. Everyone's so amazing, including yourself, man. You are so supportive all across the horror community here on YouTube, and it's really special and awesome having you be a part of what we do.
I hate being religious, but God's been really blessing me and kind of pushing me.
That's awesome, man.
I'm kind of at a point where I'm just like, this is what I want to do. So I'm just committing to that. So
you got to lean into those blessings and you got to listen to that. You know, when you feel that, you have to bend to that will, for sure.
Yeah. So thanks, man. I really appreciate it. I don't want to be too corny, but it does mean a lot. It really does. So thank you.
I appreciate it so much, man. And yeah, just the first of many.
Yes.
Right.
All right.
All right. Well, hell yeah, Coy. Thank you so much. Check out Happy Sanjo's channel, and we'll have him back on the show sometime soon. Take care, Coy.
You guys all have a great one.
All right. Holy cow. Look at that. 2 hours went by like nothing when you're talking about the Scream franchise. I mean, it's so good. So much fun. We didn't even make it through the whole damn franchise, but you guys are going to get more because we reached our super chat goal. I'm really having a fun time with the super chat goals. I don't know what it is. It's just fun. Really appreciate you guys kicking it with us here. I can hang out for a few minutes longer. I don't know. Like, what are you guys feeling? You guys, it's way later for a lot of you folks out there on the East Coast. Hang out for a few more minutes and answer some questions if you have any. I think I saw one from Paula. Paula asks, Davey, what is your favorite song from each Scream movie? Holy cow. Paula, I'm trying to think. So I love Red Right Hand, of course, from the first film. I think it's so good. From part 2, Less Than Jake. It's at the end credits. One of my favorite ska punk bands, Less Than Jake, does a cover of I Think I Love You by the Partridge Family, which Derek sings in the mess hall in the cafeteria there. That's going to be my favorite from part 2. And man, I would have to look at the soundtracks for the other ones, Paula. I can't think of any songs from the other, but you got two, so that's not so bad, right? 2 out of 6 ain't bad, or whatever Meatloaf used to sing. Oh, thank you so much, Jamie. You're too sweet. Too sweet. Have a great rest of your night, DA. Really appreciate you. Super chat goals are like gambling. I totally get the appeal. Well, and like I said, it's just like, I just ask you guys if you want me to do something, and I just make it the goal, right? Like, hey, if you guys want me to do a stream on, what was the one that I think, let's see here, let me bring it back up. Kevin Ketchy brought up one the other day. It was movie scenes that still scare me, you know? So I could be like, you guys want me to do a live stream about movie scenes, horror movie scenes that still scare me, and set a goal for it. And then I actually can tell if you guys are interested. You know, it's one of those things. It's like Andy Kaufman going on SNL and having people call a phone number and say if they ever want to see him on the show ever again. This is early for me, says Dean. I'm game to hang for a bit. Hell yeah. Antonis asks, Davey, I have a question. Since Final Destination 6 comes out in May, when do you think we'll get our first teaser trailer? I wouldn't be surprised if it drops with like Wolfman. I don't know what the production company is or if there's any relation there. I would imagine, yeah, Wolfman. If not Wolfman, then we're going to see something with like Heart Eyes, probably right around that time. I know they used to like actually time them to come out with movies, and I know trailers can drop whenever. I'm just sort of guessing. Antonis, I would say, yeah, within like, it could be as soon as a week to 10 days, maybe sometime in February, maybe Super Bowl. I know it is a horror movie, but I think Final Destination, even though it's a series I'm not super familiar with, I think it is one of those like, you know, kind of bigger name recognition, horror movies, especially from that time. Yeah, Red Right Hand's great. What's happening, Power Up Productions? How are you doing? Great to see you, man. If you missed the chat with Coy, you can go ahead and scrub it on back. We had a really fun chat, basically, talking about the first 3 Scream films. For the most part, the focus was on the first film, but we sort of covered those first 3, and we're going to bring him back for a part 2 and talk about the second half of the series, or at least the second half that we have right now. Yeah, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Great stuff. Love it. They did a different one for Scream 3. Oh, yeah, it had a little bit of a different vibe, huh? Yeah. I probably need to watch that one again. Prince says, how's the football department, by the way, Davey? I'm busy with Australian Open tennis right now. Well, my boys finished out the season 12-5, and they got the number 6 seed, and they're going to be playing in Tampa Bay, Florida, at Raymond James Stadium this Sunday. So I'm really pumped. We were, drafted second overall, have a rookie quarterback, and probably I think we were projected to maybe have like 5 or 6 wins this year. First year head coach for our organization, and then there we are, 12-5, making the playoffs. So I'm pumped. Yeah, Leanna, everything up through like Borders and Boundaries maybe has a couple songs I kind of dig. I really don't like the production on that one, but man, Losers, Kings, and Other Things We Don't Understand, Pez Core, Losing Streak, and Hello Rockview. That's a pretty good quad record block right there for them. Paula says, Whisper to a Scream, Red Right Hand, I Think I Love You, What If, of course, Demi Lovato. Is Demi Lovato in one of the newer ones? See, I didn't even pay attention to like pop songs in the newer movies. I can't think of any of them. I don't know about that one. King Matthew III says, I have another prediction for Scream 7. What if Chad gets killed in the same way Dewey did in 5? And also, I predict the killer is an obsessed fan of Gale's. I think Chad might be the opening kill. It's amazing. I mean, I get why you're saying Dewey, because he's sort of the Dewey of the new series, because he gets stabbed a million times and still finds a way to live. So Tyler is hyped for Final Destination 6. I need to go back to that series, because really the only two I can like that stand out to me from memory are the first two, really. Just listen to the Weeping Song by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds earlier tonight. Look at that. It's all connected. Watching I, Tonya today with Margot Robbie and Sebastian Stan. Yeah, I gave that one a miss. Not really interested in that one. All right. Koi's in the chat saying, hey, everyone. What's happening, bud? Great to see you yet again. Oh, everyone's showing some love. Love to see it. I think Final Destination is pretty darn consistent, and the kills are always fun and full of tension. Yeah, it's very creative. It's like the way that A Nightmare on Elm Street kills were like the creative group in the 80s slashers. Final Destination definitely did that. I guess you could technically say that first one has a little, not an imitator of Scream, but definitely sort of riding on that fresh wave of teenage slashers, but finding that supernatural edge. And I know that first movie was based on like a treatment for like an X-Files episode. So it's really cool that it wasn't just an episode in a show, but that it turned into an entire franchise. Yeah, I would imagine they're going to give us a teaser and then like, a month or two later, drop the whole thing. Oh, and look at that. Koi's dropping $9.99, says, thanks, bro. Dude, you are welcome anytime. You don't have to drop the super chat for $9.99 after being on the show, but I certainly do appreciate the support as always. And yeah, man, that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. So we'll have to have you on for part 2. I'm looking forward to that. Do you think Gale or Dewey should have died in Scream 3? I mean, if they did, it would have been fine. I just think, Dewey should have lived in Scream 5, or at least not get killed by a 90-pound high school student. And then Gale probably should have died in part 6, because I thought she was dead. And then they like have a throwaway mention that she wasn't. It was really, really weird. That was all very, very bizarre to me. What's happening? My brother Matt Conway is in the chat. How are you doing, Matt? Look at that handsome face. And Matt says HTTR, which stands for Hail to the Redskins. Hell yeah. Looking forward to that playoff game. Hopefully they can get Tampa Bay back for the crushing loss they suffered in week 1 this year. But it was week 1, Jaden Daniels' first action as a professional football player. And I think the team has gotten a lot better. I think it'll be a lot more evenly matched this time around. Absolutely. Great to see you, Matt. Thanks for hanging out, man. Something to Die For, she said. Fall in Love, Whisper to a Scream, and Still Alive are my faves. Man, I need to look up the soundtracks, because I've never been that much of like a soundtrack listener. like when I watch the movie, you know, you hear the songs, but I've never been like purchasing soundtracks. Very few and far between for me. Hell yeah, man. Had a friggin' blast. As a Minnesota Vikings fan, I know the feeling of overachieving. Holy cow, don't you ever, man. Best of luck versus the Rams this weekend, Power Up Productions. Hope you get another crack at Detroit. It would be, I mean, I don't want to have to play the Eagles again as a Redskins fan, and I doubt that many Detroit fans or Vikings fans, maybe you guys don't want to face each other. But for folks who aren't fans of either of those two teams, it would be very, very, you know, the intrigue of that third matchup would be something else for sure. Demi Sung still alive when Sam dropped the mask, which led to the end credits. Okay, all right, cool. Ooh, yeah, when they did Greased, the Grease soundtrack, that's really cool. I love that. Yeah, I own that. And my girlfriend at the time in high school was like, "Why do you listen to this crap?" She was like a huge fan of Grease, just the actual movie. And she thought it was stupid that I was listening to punk covers of those songs. Needless to say, it didn't work out. Take care, King Matthew III. Have a great one, man. Didn't click to you at all. What? Tanya? Yeah, I'm not really interested in watching a movie that tries to, I don't know if it tries to make Tanya Harding seem like a victim or seem like not that bad of a person. Not really interested in that one. Jamie stopped tanning because of Final Destination. Yeah, I stopped driving behind trucks that have, you know, logs all over them. Chad's head gets completely severed in the opening scene of Scream 7. Flash to him being wheeled out on a stretcher into an ambulance. A-okay at the end. Yeah. And Mindy and Kirby are sitting there with stomach gashes that have no consequence at all. Coy says, I had no idea about Hard Eyes, just saw the trailer, and holy shit, I'm pumped. Yeah, I have not seen the second trailer, so if there's anything in that second trailer, please keep it away from my eyes. I only watched the teaser that came out. It came out like maybe a month and a half ago. I just watched it maybe a few weeks ago, but I'm already hooked, so I'm staying away from any other trailers. But yeah, I'm pumped for a good old-fashioned Valentine's Day slasher. It's hypothetical for Scream 7. I'm being silly. Of course. Hypothetical that he gets his head chopped off and he's totally okay. After Chad's excessive fake overkill, I don't see the point of him being the opening kill, especially without Sam, Tara, or Mindy. Well, it sounds like he's coming back. So I just figured he would come back and they would just off him, you know? Yeah, those fires in LA are pretty intense. Definitely wishing the best for all those folks out there. And you know, you gotta take a look at the governmental policies that, you know, that eliminate controlled burns and limit the amount of water that a city that's literally right next to an ocean has. So really feel for the citizens there that have lost, and I hope the politicians responsible are held accountable by the voting electorate and maybe by litigation as well. So, yeah, that's how I feel about that. And, yeah. What is the better? Probably the airplane. Roman was a shocking reveal and Billy's motive was jaw-dropping. Absolutely, Paula. Sorry, I had to finish up Kill Bill. Volume 1 or Volume 2, Gavin? I think Volume 1 as all over Volume 2, for me, personally. I think Stu should have killed Billy. Oh, they both stabbed each other. Who knows? They might have both just bled out, you know, at the end of that movie. Let's see here. Jamie prefers the roller coaster. There you go. To make up for the plot armor in 6, and he'd be the only link. Yeah, that's what I'm figuring too, Dean, is it would just be they really are closing the book on the previous 2 chapters and finally, you know, nipping that whole thing in the bud. Scream 3 has the best soundtrack in the franchise, just saying. You're probably right on that one. Let's see here. I saw the teaser. Yeah. I saw the teaser. Koi's struggling with the autocorrect on his new phone. King Matthew, you thought he was gone, but he's still here. He says, I have another question, Davey. If Stu and Billy won in Scream 1 and Dewey still survived, what do you think would have happened? Like, would Dewey think Sydney was the killer? I don't think so. No, I don't think that Dewey would have ever assumed that it was Sydney. She's so pure of heart, you know? But yeah, the killer's getting away in a movie would be really, really cool. Yeah, has the actress even signed up? I mean, she might not even be written into the script. Yeah, I don't think he was necessarily a good person, but I don't think she was very good either. Have a great rest of your night, Jamie. Thank you so much for kicking it with us. Me too, Gavin. I'm really looking forward to it. And I mean, Thanksgiving too, that's my most anticipated of 2025. So really looking forward to that one. Yeah, a lot of people have. It looks really, really rough out there. Hell yeah. Yeah, you guys have been so sweet and awesome to Koi. I mean, you guys are always amazing to each other, but it's really, really cool to see the support after the appearance on there, or, on here. And yeah, man. It is this community is so giving, man. So giving. I could do a whole stream where all I talk about is how amazing you guys are. Hell yeah. There you go. Yeah, you guys can lean on each other as far as getting things up and running. And I mean, Koi, of course, like anytime you have as long as I actually have an answer for you, I will help you with anything you got. So yeah, let me know. Well, I hope they're able to contain that. I saw there was like 0% containment just last night, so hopefully they're able to put the kibosh on all of that, and you guys get back to some relatively cleaner air there. Hell yeah, look at that. Getting that collab going. Watch volume 2 next. Hell yeah. Oh, you live in Bel Air, Richie Rich. I recommend Amber Alert with Hayden Panettiere. It's on Hulu. Her acting and her character's investigative skills were a lot better than it was in 6. Yeah, I think to me it's the face augmentation, the plastic surgery that she's had. She could barely move in Scream 6. I'll save the rest of what I'm going to say for the next stream with Koi. But yeah, it was something I just could not. It just ruined the suspension of disbelief for me in a pretty profound way. Prince, I've seen the first 2. Insidious movies. Oh yeah, that ends Scream 2. I'm not a Creed fan, Paula, but more power to you, and I'm happy that you enjoy their music. Oh, nice. Wolfman transformation dropped. I'm gonna wait until I watch the movie because you guys helped me reach a super chat goal and told me that you want a live review of Wolfman, so I will wait until then. Awesome. Hell yeah. Yeah, Thanksgiving 2 is going to be this November, maybe end of October, beginning of November. But yeah, 2025, yeah. I'm really, really looking forward to it, man. I am maybe I'm the only one that's really, really pumped on the original Thanksgiving. I know a lot of people like the movie, but to me, I've said it before and I'll say it again. It is the best original slasher film that I've seen since the very first Scream film. I love it. It reminds me of My Bloody Valentine and The Prowler. So I'll take all that you got. Famous movie I want to see so bad. I don't know. I might be too old to get super crazy excited about like famous, like mainstream. I'm interested in Superman just because it's Superman. But I'm concerned that it's bloated, and I'm concerned that people are putting too much faith in James Gunn. Yeah. I sound like I'm very familiar with California. Well, I don't live too far away. I grew up on the West Coast. I know it was in Alaska, but visited California a whole bunch as a kid and a young adult. And it's a famous, I think a lot of people in the USA, know quite a bit about it just because it's highly populated and very, very active. Thank you so much, Dave. Really appreciate you kicking it with us here with myself and Koi. They do know how to party. Should have definitely not released the transformation yet. Yeah, I'm going to avoid that like the friggin' plague. I was on that members only stream, Dean, over on Killjoy Jake's channel, and somebody put out a super chat where they you know, I guess there's some really heavy spoilers in that latest companion trailer, and I'm not going to say what they said, but in a super chat, they dropped the spoilers that were in that trailer. And I commented right away. I was like, man, that kind of sucks. Like, I avoided the trailer, and here it is getting spoiled for me. Anyways, bummer. What can you do though? It's a super chat. I don't blame Jake. I only blame the person that wrote it. You're talking about the favorite best werewolf transformation? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I really have one. American Werewolf in London, pretty solid. Pretty solid. I want to see a full like 20-25 minute short of Angels with Filthy Souls. That would be pretty funny. Short film of Angels with Filthy Souls. We stay active on these streets in Cali. Yes. Yeah, it's really, I mean, if it's on a regular chat, then the person should be booted out of the stream, of course. But, you know, it's like, it's a super chat. That's Jake's livelihood. I'm not going to hate too much. Who knows if I'll even like watch that movie? And hopefully the bit that was spoiled, hopefully it's one of those things like the Abigail thing where it isn't really going to hinge on the enjoyment of the movie. Maybe the thing that they were talking about is something that's sort of given away relatively early in the film. I don't know. But also the studio shouldn't be cutting together trailers that give away spoilers. Yeah, but it was a super chat and it was a members only stream, Paula. It's okay. I'm really not trying to make it a thing. I love Killjoy Jake's channel. Just one of those things where I was like, man. Yeah, they do it, man. Twitter is like all over with that. Like I still haven't seen Deadpool and Wolverine because so much of it was spoiled for me. So I'm just sort of like, eh. And some of it was spoiled by the studio, like the week after the movie came out on a Friday, and then the very next Monday or Tuesday, they're spoiling stuff. And you're just like, dude, are you kidding? But yeah, quite a bit of it over there on Twitter. Howling has one of the best transformations because it goes on for a long time. Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen the Howling. And speaking of that, Dean, there was a content creator here on YouTube that like tagged me in a couple things, and they covered a lot of like comic book movie stuff, and then they dropped some like spoiler stuff like the day after one of those comic book movies came out this year. And I commented, I was like, man, this really sucks. I haven't seen this movie. It just came out, hasn't even been out 48 hours, and you're spoiling it. And I unsubbed from that guy because it's just like, how can I trust you now, dude? Oh, gotcha. That's why so you guys know me. As soon like I'll watch that first teaser or whatever. If they hook me on the first teaser, I'm done. I'm not watching anything else. If I'm not convinced, maybe I'll check out the next trailer, or maybe I'm just out. But yeah, this year I did that with Long Legs. I watched all the stuff that came out like last January that was just like, you know, still shots getting zoomed in on. And then I watched the very first teaser that was maybe like a month or two later. And then that was it. So that's the way I roll now. So the first trailer from Heart Eyes was good enough for me. Recommend Wolf Cop. Never even heard of that. I'm bummed when people casually drop details from later trailers like they aren't spoilers. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's bullshit. It's bullshit to talk about, you know, because you're just assuming that somebody's seen it. It's just as much bullshit as dropping spoilers like you go and watch the midnight show of a movie on a Thursday night, or you go see it opening night, and then you start like just posting trailers because, well, it's out there. You should have gone and seen it already. Super shitty. I try to avoid everything, says Tyler, after the first teaser or first trailer, and then bam, I'm hit with a spoiler. Yeah, it's fucking bullshit, man. No idea, Antonis. Yeah, people have no conscience of other people. Yeah, and they have no like awareness of situation or awareness of others. They feel like they're being a scooper, you know, or they feel like they're gonna like impress somebody by saying, you know, that they know something about a movie or whatever. And ultimately, they're probably just like lonely and probably don't have anyone to really talk to in real life. King Matthew asked, do you think Ray will die in the upcoming I Know What You Did Last Summer movie? I kind of feel like that. They'll give him the David Arquette screen. Yeah, I think he will. I think maybe even Jennifer Love Hewitt goes out too. Because they already were filming the movie when she finally agreed to come on. So I would imagine her role would be relatively limited, even if they don't kill her off. Didn't even know you could do that, T. Parker. You can mute certain words. Wow, I had no idea. I had no friggin' idea. But yeah, Twitter is just, it's a rough one over there because people will drop all. I mean, after Terrifier 3 came out, the week after that, people are dropping like GIFs that are like ruining kills just so they can like drop a meme of that kill. And it's just like, I get it. I understand a lot of people are so pumped about Terrifier, they run out and watch it right away. But not everyone has the means to go see every movie the day that it comes out. So chill out, y'all. Just chill the F out. Have a great night, Prince, or a great day. Take care, man. Dean says I've been dogpiled on Facebook posts for saying trailers spoil movies. And they always have. It's just that now they're so readily available and we can watch them over and over again. People do breakdowns on YouTube, which is like, you know, again, more power to them. It's not for me. It's not something that I'm chasing. But if somebody, you know, maybe for some folks, it doesn't bug them to have those details spoiled or to pour over all the details of a trailer. For me, it's just not something I want to do. But trailers have always spoiled big time things. I watched Trailer Park on All the Good Names Are Taken podcast, which is a really funny channel. And when they do a trailer park, they show the whole point of Trailer Park is to prove that trailers have always spoiled movies. It's not something new. And they show these old trailers that give away huge moments. But the difference is back in the 70s and 80s and even in the 90s, you would see a trailer, like they would be a 10 or 15 second trailer on television. And then you would see the trailer just in the movie theater. So you'd see a trailer and then you wouldn't see it again for 6 months until you watch the movie. So you sort of like, your brain just kind of memory dumps some of those moments. I don't have many thoughts on that. With Netflix doing sports, I've just, you know, as long as their bandwidth works, it seems like it worked okay with, better with the NFL than it did with Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, but I don't have many thoughts on wrestling. Love going to theaters, and I still don't make it out to see stuff opening weekend a lot of the time. Yeah, we have lives, you know. I think it really is the people that run out and spoil on Twitter as quick as they can. I think it's clout chasing and immaturity. Oh, he's something else in that one. What's happening, Cody? How you doing, man? So great to see ya. We've got the dude in the chat. He's probably going to remind you to roundhouse kick that like button. Thank you so much, Cody. Hope you're doing well, man. Hope you're having a great new year so far, bud. Really appreciate you jumping in. They all spoil movies. They all do. Every single one of them. The OG Halloween trailer gave away a lot of iconic moments. Yep. Yeah, that's covered in Trailer Park. Friday the 13th. All that. I mean, they straight up just give away kills. It's always happened. It's just that now we have so much access. So it's different because we pour over it and share it and all that kind of stuff. True, Tyler. Yep. Teaser trailer, that's more for a cinephile kind of vibe for sure. Yeah, the final trailers are for that broad audience. Yep. They're just trying to hook you with something. Dude, Cody says, y'all remember back in 93 when the poster of Free Willy spoiled the ending? The poster and the trailer. Yep, they're basically like, hey, don't worry. This whale is going to be freed, even though it still lives in captivity and is greatly depressed. Aaron Click says, Davey, Nosferatu continues to evade my grasp. I think I'm going to see it tomorrow if all goes well. Hell yeah, man. I think you'll have a good time. I hope you do. And yeah, you know, you got to watch it when you're ready for it, you know? No need to force it. Don't get me started on people who take pics or videos of the movie in theater. Yeah, dude, all over Twitter, those fuckers. Do you think Courtney Cox and Jim Carrey should reunite for Ace Ventura 3? I would love to see Jim Carrey come back to Ace Ventura. Oh my God, would I love to see that. That's the legacy sequel I need in my life. What about you, Cody? Do you want to see Jim Carrey come back to Ace? I think it would be so much fun. And if Courtney Cox wants to be part of it, that's cool too. Yeah, why not? Why the hell not? As long as no other ties to that first movie. I don't need any Ray Finkel or any of that. If they just want to bring those two back, that would be fun. There you go. Even Paula loves it. Holy cow, look at that. We're at about 2 hours, 45 minutes. I think I am going to wrap it up here pretty soon. Cody says, if they don't, I riot. Yeah, I think it would be amazing. I think I haven't seen the third Sonic movie, but I think Jim Carrey has been really funny and charming in those first two Sonic movies. And yeah, I mean, he says he needs he needs money. So let's go ahead and bring back Ace Ventura. Wow, that'd be amazing. And Ace 3 would be pretty awesome if done right. Yep. Yeah, his Riddler is that movie's pretty wacky. He gives it his all though. It's not necessarily my like preferred style of Batman film, but you know, of course, when that came out, I had all the Jim Carrey hype in the world. I love the guy. I've only seen the first Sonic, but he was definitely classic Carrey. Yeah. I think the second one might even be better, Cody. I think there's like a human side plot, which is pretty silly, whatever. But I think they more Easter eggs for like the games and stuff like that in the second movie. I watched Batman Forever one time on mushrooms, and then I followed it up by watching Batman 66. I did them back to back while shrooming. It was wild, man. Batman Forever on shrooms. Holy shit. To be young again, back in my late 20s, early 30s. Oh, wow. All right. So the third one you liked better than the second. Oh, maybe I need to watch the first two again. I think I remember liking the second one more, but perhaps I could be wrong, or we just have a different opinion. But you've got pretty good sense, T. Parker. I know we don't completely agree on all our rankings and thoughts and everything, but I do think that you've got well measured opinions and sense and a good instinct when it comes to all that. Whole cast was great. Oh yeah, Batman Forever's fun. Maybe Tommy Lee Jones is a little too jokery, but Val Kilmer is Batman. I think he was a great Batman and an awesome Bruce Wayne. Yep, Seal's Kiss from a Rose in the credits. U2 has a decent song as far as U2 goes on that soundtrack. That soundtrack was a big one at the time. If you were me, then I'd be you, and I'd use your body to get to the top. You can't stop me no matter who you are. Who her? Oh, you're going to shroom and watch Batman Forever and 66? Yeah, she was in Masters of the Universe. Yeah, it's pretty funny. And she was in that Bruce Springsteen video way back when as well. Favorite Gene Wilder movie? That's probably going to be See No Evil, Hear No Evil, or Stir Crazy. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. The wedding subplot, but honestly, I was just like, I don't even care. Like, get back to the fun action. Like, I liked all the video game stuff. I'll have to check out Sonic 3, man. I'll have to check it out. I definitely micro. Yeah, I would eat like one, yay big, and then like an hour and a half, 2 hours later, have another one. I would like very, very, but I don't think my friend, I visited one of my friends out. She lives on the other side of town. Earlier this week, I visited her and she was like, do you want to do some shrooms? And I was like, nah, I'm detoxing right now. Maybe later. We'll see. Chase Meridian rivals Jordan Decker's love of horny. Yeah. Oh, she's pretty hot. I love the second Ace Ventura. I love it too. I love both of them. I think they're both great. I love when Steve Odenkirk, not Bob Odenkirk, when Steve Odenkirk writes movies, I think he's really like, he wrote Nothing to Lose with Martin Lawrence and Tim Robbins. He wrote, of course, Kung Pao Enter the Fist, which I think is so much better than most people give it credit for. He wrote the second Ace Ventura movie. He writes some good stuff. I think he wrote Bruce Almighty. He was basically the guy that would write Jim's vehicles at a certain point. Yeah, we got Drew Barrymore in there as well. See No Evil, Speak No Evil is my jam as well. Yeah. That opening scene of See No Evil, Hear No Evil, hilarious, man. Favorite Eddie Murphy movie? Nutty Professor 96? I don't know. To me, it's pretty easily Beverly Hills Cop. Best Eddie Murphy movie. Part 2 is really good too, and Axel F was pretty damn impressive as well. Coming to America is really, really funny, but I think I love the type of character, and I love that there's like serious dramatic parts of Beverly Hills Cop, but it's ultimately a comedic movie. I love that. King Matthew wants me to watch Sons of Anarchy. I know you're new to the channel, King Matthew. If you hang out for any extended amount of time, you will find out that I'm not the biggest television show guy. I'd be hard pressed to start watching a show. You'd have to drop even more super chats than Koi here if you want me to watch a television show. And thank you so much for the $4.99. Koi says at age 45, I was an eighth of Shortens deep and 1,000 milligrams of THC. Lol, it was a macro dose. Yeah, it was like every time I bumped into you, Koi, it was like one of the first things you'd sort of give me the rundown on like, hey, this is how many drugs I've taken so far. So, and I was like, he's letting me know just in case, like, I don't know, maybe we have a weird interaction or maybe he starts to fall over and I need to catch him. I don't know. I was just vaping pens and drinking booze. There was a movie called Son of Ace Ventura that I have not seen yet. Yeah, I think I saw like Nostalgia Critic, or not Nostalgia Critic, maybe Cinema Snob do a review of that. Yeah, doesn't look like anything good. Oh, I thought Shortens was just a term for, I thought it was street lingo that I didn't know about, Koi. So an eighth of shrooms deep and 1,000 milligrams of THC. Scatchamagauza. Sons of Anarchy is one of the goats. All right. Boy, I'd love to throw some hot grease on you. All right. Holy crap. Here we are. 2 hours, 45 minutes. I think I'm going to wrap it up. That is a pretty, oh, you were low key offering. Well, that's really sweet. I didn't take it that way. I guess I should have just been like, and you're not sharing. Well, hey man, at age 50, let's drop some edibles together at age 50. And, dude, age 50 is going to be fucking crazy, man. It's going to be so much fun. There you go. Okay. Well, next time we hang out, Koi, we'll do a little something. How about that? Yeah, guys, that is going to wrap it up for me here tonight. Epic, almost 3 hour long stream. You all are so amazing. Thank you so much to everyone who caught the live, everyone that's watching after the fact. Really appreciate it. Drop some thoughts down in the comment section below. Let me know, what you think of the Scream franchise. You can even keep it specific to those first 3 films like Koi and I were talking about. Let us know what you agree with, what you disagree with, your thoughts, what you want to see in the franchise moving forward. The comments are the best way to, push that algorithm button for YouTube. So it really, really helps us. Even if you're in a live stream and you drop a comment, it's so much appreciated. A big shout out to the Patreon members, the subscribers, the channel members, and our amazing, squad, Death Squad mod folks out here. I believe we had Jamie Hart, Leanna Bevy Rage, Cody Snyder, Matt Facci, Brooke Scarlett, and Eli Cortez. I think that's all the mods that had jumped in today. Hopefully I didn't miss anyone. You guys are amazing. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm going to be back on Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern. I will be talking about the 80s and 90s movies I couldn't stop watching. So that stream is up there on the live tab, so you can set the notification for that one. We're going to be talking about a shitload of movies that when I was a kid, I kept on renting at the video store and could just not keep myself from watching. So super pumped about that. And then we're probably going to get a little watch party going on this weekend. I don't know what it is, guys. I've got a hankering to watch Jason Takes Manhattan with y'all. And I know we're like so far from a Friday the 13th. It's just so bad that I don't think anyone would ever want to watch it around a Friday the 13th. And I don't know what it is. I'll put out a poll and I'll give you guys final say, of course. But for whatever reason, I want to watch that movie on a watch party. I don't know why. Big shout out to Koi, our guy Happy Sanjo, for hanging out with us here and talking about Scream. Guys, the link for the link for his channel is in the description below. And also, we just relaunched the merch shop, so check out the new designs and new gear we've got there. If you use discount code EARLYBIRD, you get 10% off. The link for the shop is in the description below as well. And thank you so much to everyone for dropping super chats. $2 from Cody Snyder, $4.99 from Trisha McMasters, $5 from Cody Snyder, $5 from Dominic Johnson, $5 from Big Rod, $5 from Cody Snyder, $4.99 from Tales from the Shelf, $9.99 from Happy Sanjo, and $4.99 from Happy Sanjo. You guys are absolutely incredible. Because we reached the super chat goal, 5 out of 5 super chats over $5, you will see Happy Sanjo on the channel again. We'll be talking Scream 4, 5, and 6. I am pumped for that. Hope you guys have a great rest. Hope you have a great rest of your evening. I will see y'all on Friday night. And until next time, I've been and will continue being Davey Deathray. Take care.